I get a member of council to adopt the agenda? Or first, we don't have any additions, do we?
Administration has no additions for the organizational meeting.
Okay, perfect. Can I get a member of council to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Sheriffs, all in favor? That is carried. And we will jump right into our decision items. Council 4.1, council committee appointments today at our organizational meeting. So we're going to start with our ad hoc. Are we going to start with our ad hoc?
Yes. So administration, understanding that council was looking for ways to play a more active role in certain committee area responsibilities. Administration was looking to suggest today that one of the tools we might be able to do is that in addition to the established committees, council could use the ad hoc committee process to declare a temporary committee to meet and allow council as a whole to discuss a committee area. So for example, economic development or education, council could say, okay, at this time, we want to get more in-depth update into what's going on. We want to have a better conversation with administration about what's happening in those departments. And so the ad hoc committee would allow council to essentially call a committee of the whole to have those conversations and get that deeper in-depth look into the areas of the organization that council's most interested in. I think one of the strong advantages of considering the ad hoc would be it would allow the existing committees to continue. So several of our committees, education and economic development as two examples, in the new terms of reference have a number of community stakeholders involved in the process. And we've invested to bring those community perspectives in to those important subject areas. And so rather than look at changes to the committee themselves that might see us move away from those external perspectives in those subject areas, the ad hoc committee would allow us to do an additional meet to get that additional information to council and leave those community stakeholders engaged in those processes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think it's definitely something worth exploring. I know that we've talked about that. I guess how it used to be for economic development and just projects that were going on and how to kind of push forward some ideas. And I know with education that Councillor Kamana and myself have been the ones kind of leading this, and then it kind of isn't fair to the rest of the councillors when they don't know, we've got this deep passion and knowledge, of what's kind of happening. So it'd be nice, if everybody around the table would share that as well and kind of know who our partners are and what's happening. So I think it is important to figure out how we do that. And if it's through an ad hoc, I think maybe that's the way. It still allows, I think, the committee itself to have those key stakeholders and experts at the table. I think that are going to help, drive economic development or education forward, especially when it comes to, when we're looking at programs or what are the needs and, how do we streamline things for the community and where does the community want to go when it comes to these things? I think it's important to have them at the table. And then if we can kind of take our ideas, funnel it through, then they can say kind of yay or nay or vice versa. And I think it's definitely worth exploring. What are kind of everybody else's thoughts, or do you have questions for administration? Rick?
So would we schedule these meetings like twice a year or something, or would we just call them when we feel we want our input at it or gather information coming from the other side? How would that work?
a time might come forward where council is interested in sitting down as a committee as the whole, you know, if we're talking about new facilities or new programs where council wants to engage more heavily in the operations planning, get a bit deeper understanding, those types of things can happen. So the ad hoc gives you the flexibility to call those meetings when you like.
Any other questions? Colin?
I was thinking about not necessarily a committee, I guess, but maybe it's a committee, I don't know. Like a negotiation type of committee. I'm just wondering things like maybe larger contracts or, collective bargaining agreements, those sorts of things. I mean, they have some pretty potentially huge impacts to budget, right? So I think from that perspective, it might be worth having some sort of council involvement there. Just a thought.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I know, just looking at our like strategic plan and some of the ideas that we have, I know that some of us have some other ideas, you know, that we want to push forward, or you look at our term and the 3 years, short term, both and long term, you know, 3 years to 10 years, 25 years. If there's certain economic, you know, initiatives or education initiatives that we want to see really come to fruition or really drive forward, I think that's probably the best place to do it, is to drive it forward there. And then we send it to the committees and the members at large, and they're able then to spread it out and help with that action, right? So I think once next week we nail down a little bit more of where we want to go for the next 3 years, and if there is certain projects, I think that's where we come back to the table and really figure out, now how are we going to do this, right? Where do we need the support? You know, we've got this timeline, and then flush it out to the members at large on the committee and see where they fit in and things like that. I think it's a great idea. We can always, you know, like call the meetings when we want. Do we need to change the terms of reference? I can't remember.
So
We don't have a terms for the ad hoc.
That's right.
Okay, yeah.
The nature of the ad hoc is that council can call them and define them
Okay.
on an ad hoc basis. So they can define that it will be council of the whole. So all of those terms of reference items can be defined as the meetings are called.
Mhm. Okay, perfect. And then I think for the terms of reference too, that's something that we want to be able to still work while those are being developed and yeah, have those, I think, as soon as possible. Bill?
Also, when this ad hoc committee is called, it's going to be specific to one subject matter. It's not going to be subject to other committees. Like if you're talking about education, is it going to be strictly education? If it's going to be economic, is it just strictly economic development, or can you throw in recreation? Can you throw in other things?
So council would have the flexibility to decide if they wanted to deal with more than one topic at a time. I think if council was looking to say do education and economic development in the same ad hoc meeting, it would just be a matter of making sure we schedule sufficient time to work through both of those topics. I mean, you could also call an ad hoc meeting to cover all of those topics. But again, I think the conversation would need to be what kind of things does council want to talk about? Is an ad hoc appropriate, or do we need, if council needs access to the decision-making powers of council, then they'll need to meet as council.
Can I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So from these ad hoc committees, what influence would it have in establishing a direction that council would want to go? For example, if economic development, if we had 4 or 5 priorities that we wanted, then how do you implement those?
So the strategic priority setting process remains the same. Council can capture their strategic priorities in a motion, and then they become the priorities of the organization. So in terms of doing that, I mean, we do that we'll have strategic planning meetings. We'll establish what council would like to see as goals, and then they come back to council for a motion to establish them as the priorities of the organization. So you could use an ad hoc meeting to have those strategy conversations, but ultimately, in order for a strategy to be adopted, it has to come to a council meeting.
So add these ad hoc meetings, for example, and I'm going to stick with economic development because that's where my priority is anyway. When we're meeting then, would we have the pleasure of being able to speak with the people involved directly in economic development and have conversations with them?
Like the administrative people in the department, the economic development officer and the growth services manager, is that?
Correct.
Yeah. My thought, my recommendation to council would be in an ad hoc meeting like that, it's important that we're having that level of conversation. Because what we're saying is council's looking for a deeper understanding of what's happening in the department. And we'll want to have those key people there in the conversation to get that information for you.
They would be part of those meetings, yeah.
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 We could define that as the expectation of the ad hoc meeting.
And I think that the reason that we picked economic development and education to have the ad hoc was because that's where there was the most conversation, where council wanted to be involved more and didn't quite know if the current committee fit or how it was kind of working with the terms of reference. So that's why we're kind of, suggesting that just these two out of the 5 internal, if they were the council of the whole, then we would pick a couple projects to drive them forward, right? Like, I'll use education, and I think, that's something that we have the college, we have a lab built, we have partners in something like that. I think we all 7 of us need to be driving that forward, right? If education is going to be what we're passionate about, then we need to be like talking about that, all knowing what's happening, who our partners, what our programs are, what our path going forward. Are we building this? Are we building that? Are we expanding, right? Same with economic development. If there's a project, and then of course we have the support from administration and the committee itself, those members and business owners and stuff like that can get behind it. My impression was there wasn't an appetite for recreation, sustainability, and policing, as those were doing, those committees themselves were doing good the way that they were, having just the 2 members of council and administration and members at large there. So that's kind of where we went with just the 2. So I don't know if anybody else had anything to add, or they felt that there was another committee that they wanted to look at as well. Excuse me. Tom?
So I'm a little confused on what the question actually is. So we is the question, should we have ad hoc? Or is the question, and if we do have ad hoc, here's the 2 items, and then we're going to continue with the organizational, or are we just going ad hoc for everything?
No,
I'm just a bit confused about the question.
it's just the 2 internal committees, because there's been several conversations around economic development. We used to be, all of us, right? So there's been several conversations of we'd like to go back to the way it was, but we don't want to lose those important stakeholders, right? And members of the public, right? The businesses and everybody, because their input is important. So how do we do that? And so that was where the suggestion of how about we create an ad hoc where we can still do that for these 2 particular, because that's where a lot of the feeling was, is we really want to get involved and drive these forward. These both revolve around economic development, right? And initiatives that are going to promote that in the community. So these were the 2. With the other 3, we felt that there was that support and then we'll continue, if that's the way. We'll look at the internal committees, the ad hoc, we'll look at the terms of reference, and then we'll work through, just keeping everything the way that it is.
So what we lose though with ad hoc is some flexibility. So currently, if yourself and Miller, who are passionate about education, get to a meeting, get that handled, and then bring the information back to the council, all of a sudden, we've got somebody that's got a burning thing to tell us and can't get all seven together. You know, I just think you have to be just cautious of that too, right? Is that even with economic development, there's things coming all the time. And I think generally I'm comfortable with a committee that is doing the work, bringing it back to us. We can call it ad hoc afterwards, but I wouldn't want to lose the flexibility. And that to me gets problematic when you're looking for 7 people to show up for a 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock meeting. And I don't know if you can get around it. It's not it just means that I still think you could have two steers or two, whatever you call it. And then this is important. We need you here today to have this discussion.
I think for me, can I just add to that? How many of you knew that there was the education open house last night? How many went? And that's the thing, right? We created a pillar, we invested money, this council invested money to build a healthcare lab. We invested money and we committed to the zero fee and the partners. And we've got grants and money from Weyerhaeuser, from Rotary Club, from all that. We as a council have committed to that. We need to, all 7 of us, be driving that, and we're not driving it. Right? So if next week or the week after we decide we're not doing it, we need to look at what we've done and what we've invested and put and what our solution is going forward. If we really invested in it, we need to believe in it. We need to all talk it. We all need to walk it, right? And so maybe we don't do the ad hoc for the whole 3 years. Maybe we do it for a year so we can be strong in the things that we're passionate about and the things that we're driving. And we have amazing partners at the table and a committee that is willing to support this. We've got the high schools, right? We've got Drayton Valley Community Foundation. We've got community learning. We've got great people that are wanting to see this come, to fruition and success. But we need a council. And that's what I've heard in the past, is we need a council that believes in it as much as the community does, right? So that's an example. It might take us 6 months. It might take us a year. But if we're going to do it, we got to do it. And we have to do it well. Rob?
So my addition to that conversation was just going to be that the ad hoc is intended to be an additional piece. So we'd maintain the committee as they currently are with the 2 council reps and the public members. The ad hoc is the additional piece where council as a whole could come together to get the level, the in-depth knowledge about what's going on, understand where administration is working against their priorities, and get that additional information so that council feels more engaged in those areas that they're most concerned about. And the ad hoc nature means that you can have those meetings when they're necessary. So when council feels like the engagement needs to be higher for economic development, we can have those meetings. If a day comes when that level of engagement doesn't feel as important, we don't need to call those meetings. So the flexibility there is it's when council wants that deeper level of knowledge and engagement.
Rick?
So do we need a motion for anything, or can we just move on with the understanding that we can call an ad hoc committee meeting when it's deemed needed?
Yeah, a motion isn't required to create the ad hoc at this moment, but just an understanding for council. I thought it was important as we got into the conversation about the internal committees that we table this idea of meeting that desire of council to be more engaged in certain areas at certain times with the ad hoc tool. So it seems to be understood what the tool is for and what we can gain from it. So that's probably sufficient.
Okay, so when you say table, I do worry about that. That could be sitting for a while. So let's say we hypothetically want to get together next week and we want to talk about what are we doing, right? So how do we do that?
So you can call an ad hoc meeting. The only caution I would have is that for administration to be prepared, we'll want to make sure that they have sufficient time to get an agenda and prepare the information for council. But When, if council decided that they wanted to have a meeting next week to dive into economic development, then that decision can be made. You let administration know and we'll schedule the ad hoc meeting.
Okay, Bill?
Just to clarify, so if a counselor has some concerns and they would like to request an ad hoc meeting, it would be through the chair.
That's correct.
Okay, so maybe perhaps we could kind of maybe even give a heads up, not next week, the following week. We'd like to see. Just because we've got our retreat where we're going to be strategizing. And then I know we also have a presentation coming from Luke. So might be good timing, right? It's all fresh in our minds of where we want to go and where we want to drive it and what our role is. And is everybody good with that?
Yep.
When's RMA? Okay, after, sorry, yeah. I thought it was at the end of November. Sure.
Okay.
So
So
that gives heads up.
that works out just fine. That next week, I believe we have a budget meeting on the Wednesday. So I'll have Pam send out some dates to council and we'll see what works best in that week, and we'll aim to have the meeting then.
Perfect. Thank you. Sure, Colin?
So Bill, Bill said through the chair. Who's the chair? Is that through the mayor or is that? Can we clarify
Sorry,
who the chair is?
Through the mayor. Yeah. And
Big little chair.
And the question comes because those committees also have chairs, right? Yeah. No. So in this case, it's council calling the ad hoc meeting. So the mayor is the chair.
Okay, so we're good then with that? Everybody else, policing, security, fire, sustainability, recreation is good. I think it's, my opinion, I think it's solid and going great. Yeah, okay. So then 4.2B, terms of reference, is that for just the ad hoc or is that for all of the?
No, so the terms of reference were for the 5 established internal council committees.
Okay,
And my understanding was that council might want to talk today about some changes to the terms of references for those committees.
sure. I know that there was a couple counselors, I think Bill and Amila had some concerns. Amila's not here, so I'm not quite sure. I'm just trying to think of, I think a lot of them were around economic development and education, and I know he was in favor of the ad hoc, so I don't know if there would be a request for anything for the other terms of reference from him for the other 3 committees. Bill?
I think the only thing that concerned me was were the terms of reference where you're requesting people from the community. And to me, it seemed like there was not really a whole lot of attention paid to that, where people were coming in and joining these. And I don't know if it affects quorums or not in committee work, if they're not there, or if the position is not filled.
Can you give an example of which committee maybe?
So the terms of reference for economic development provide for a number of community business interests to join as stakeholders to the committee. That process was managed by the committee. So the committee attempted to select stakeholders from across various industries and various business sizes throughout the community. And the interest had been there. They've been able to fill, I believe, both education and economic development have filled all of their public stakeholder spots. There is a conversation about quorum, but I don't believe that we've had any trouble scheduling the meetings quorum-wise.
I think they were filled, there's no question about
Yeah.
that. I think the attendance, if they were in school, they would not have very good attendance records. And I think that's a concern. So maybe we could look at having an application where people have legitimate interest, where they have to really apply for the board membership and maybe get a commitment that way?
Well, do some committees have, and I can't remember if, I know some of our policies, if you miss a certain amount of meetings, then you're, yeah, then your
Yeah, I don't
term
know
on
that
the
our,
committee
I don't know
expires.
that it's explicit in the terms of reference, but
Yeah.
it does talk about that in the MGA and in the procedure bylaw. But I think the process that the groups went through is there were certain organizations that we wanted to engage with, and they've appointed members. And in the case that their appointed member couldn't come, they would send somebody else from their organization. I think probably the individual business owners on the Economic Development Committee, if there was, people that had taken positions and then didn't engage, the committee would be able to regulate that. But I don't, so the process right now is by invitation. We could certainly use the board application that we use for, say, FCSS or the library, for people that are interested. But I think in establishment, it was just done by invitation to make sure that we had the right spread of participants. But we can certainly implement that application process.
And all those positions are filled on all the committees, all members at large? Do we know?
I have to double check. I believe they are. The Economic Development Committee was the one that had the largest complement. And so I believe they had a range that they would operate in, and they're within that operating range. So there might be a couple of, they might be able to add a couple of more public members,
Yeah.
but they have a sufficient number.
And what was the term? Was it 1 year, 2 year, or did we have a term on it?
I believe that they were,
Was it a year?
yeah, I believe it was a year appointment.
So we'd have to kind of do a call out again to those all?
So if we were doing application based, then we would put out the application and an invitation for people to apply. Or the way it sits right now, the committee would likely have a conversation about continuing the appointments of certain members and whether there were additional, and that would come back. So the 1 year appointments, though, of the public members is in the spring.
So, oh, okay, in the spring.
Yeah, because the committees didn't get started in October last year, so they're not up for renewal yet.
Okay. It's for the spring, okay. So maybe too, even for all internal committees, because it has been a while since I think there has been meetings, if we could have a call with whoever the chairs are to call a meeting for all of these in the month of November or something, right? So we can get those going. I think where the terms of reference was coming in a little bit of the, looking for change was because we had such a slow start our last year organizational, right?
Yeah.
With the terms of reference in the meetings. And I feel that with some of these internal committees that there's only been a couple in the year, right? So I feel like what I'm hearing from counselors is there hasn't been a lot of traction. There hasn't been a lot that's happened. So I think if we can jump back on November, get those up and going and be having regular meetings and pushing some things forward. And I think, if everybody can't make it that's on that committee, then, you still have the meeting, right? You still have to go on. The show has to still go on. Did you have something to add?
No.
Okay. So is everybody good then with the terms of reference? How does they sit for all just internal, right? Committees?
Yeah, those are the 5 internal
Okay.
committees.
Yeah, good. We're all good. And are you looking for a motion or okay, or just nod of the head?
Is council interested in pursuing changing the terms of reference to be an application based for the public members, or will we continue with the invitation? Because if we want to make that change, then I should have a motion to amend the terms of reference. The other thing that we could do is because the appointments don't come up again until the spring.
So talk
We
about
could,
it at the
we
ad
could
hoc.
wait until the spring to see what the membership looks like.
Sure, and how the meetings are going once we kind
Yeah.
of get regular with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Still have some time. Yep. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. So we'll move on to 4.3, our council internal and external committees, and we'll start with our external committees. Pam, if you could pull up the kind of the list there, and we'll see with the names. Yeah, with the names, so then we can see kind of move through.
I'm looking at the, at that particular sheet and the names, and I'm thinking, each one of them, it seemed to me the important piece was they could be 2-year appointments. And so if you just said we're going into the second year, we have no changes unless there's something that you definitely want to get out of and get into, right? Otherwise, I think a 2-year term on all of these, I think makes great sense. And as you say, we came out slow. We really only have a half a year on it, right? And so it would seem to me that if we just went right back and everybody started again today for their second year, and let's just get it done. Unless, as I say, there's some issue or something that you conflict or whatever that you have, then raise it. But otherwise, that's just, as I look through it, the names changed because I did do the names inside, right? Because you had asked for their
Yeah.
input, right?
Yeah,
So just my thoughts.
thank you for that. You want to go? Sure, Rick?
Yeah, I had a conversation with both the library board and the HCC, Healthy Communities Coalition board at our last meeting, and let them know that we were looking at possibly making some changes. But also with the library board, I wouldn't mind staying for an additional year. Because I know. I feel like I've just been kind of got into the swing of things here, and if we're going to start looking to see what we can do for a new library, I wouldn't mind being involved in that process. So I wouldn't mind staying for a second year on the library board. The Healthy Communities Coalition, I know that we've had a conversation, Nancy, about I wasn't sure how effective having a member of council on that was, and I threw that out to them. But they felt that it was good to have a member of council for that different perspective, if you will. So I'd be fine staying for a second year on that too, unless there's somebody else that has a burning desire to get into those two. That would be my request, I guess. And I see I'm on 2 years for the Community Safety Committee. That's a 2-year. Yeah, 2-year term.
I thought there were 1 year for the terms of reference. Is it 2?
Well, a couple of them are 2-year, recreation and community safety.
Okay, yeah, recreation and policing, yeah, 2-year. Yeah, we had this conversation, Yellowhead Regional, 3-year. Yeah. Bill?
Thank you. I certainly agree with Councillor McGee is that I would certainly favor that everyone's kind of stay, because it was a late start last year. And I know, like in the Pembina Physicians recruitment, there's ongoing work. And I certainly would like to continue with that ongoing work that we've started, because we've got meetings scheduled. Well, it takes a while to get just the information, just as you mentioned, on the library board. And for continuity's sake, I think it's important for some of the boards, for the people to remain there at least for another year.
Thank you for that. I feel differently. I think that the reason we were elected is, to be serving everywhere in the community. And when I look at the list, I think that is our role, is to kind of, cycle through and have a little bit of taste of what's happening in the community, what type of organizations and groups that we have, and to be going out there representing all of them, right? I think that, everybody did kind of give their wish list of where they want it to be. And I think it might be worth it just to maybe go. And if you're still wanting to sit on the same and nobody else, then, you're more than willing to sit. And if you're wanting to change, then I think you can fight it out, or you can have a discussion of who wants to sit. But I know that there's counselors, I'm just trying to be respectful both ways, is I know there's counselors that want to stay on some, and I know there's counselors that would like to switch to others, right? So it's trying to find that common ground. I think that we're all, I think we're all fair and respectful here. So I think as we maybe, if, the suggestion is to go through it and just say, hey, I really want to go here. Hey, I really want to stay. Plead your case of why. And I think that we've got to give and take a little bit and see how it goes. Bill?
I just want to make a comment. If you're on a committee, be on a committee for a reason to contribute. If you're just a name on a committee, that's a waste of time. That's a waste of investment dollars of our ratepayers. Sustainability Committee, I was on there. I never got to go to one meeting. I don't even know. And to be truthful, sustainability is not my thing. So I'm a waste. I don't need comments from you. But unless you're going to contribute to a committee, why be there? Why be there? And it's got to be of some interest. I understand where you're coming from for the experience, but I'm not making a career out of it. I want to be there for a reason. I want to be there so that I can contribute, so that we can come to some solid outcomes.
We have to remember, though, we're not there for ourselves. We're there for the committee, right? So maybe a different committee wants you there, right? You might think that you don't have an interest in sustainability, but maybe other people think that you would be of value there, right? So that's the thing, is you were elected by, not just yourself. So you have to be mindful of that. Pam, there was a couple more. I don't see Tom's up there. Oh, okay. So Tom has Brazeau Foundation. We could put his name. So Eagle Point Blue Rapids, HCC, North Saskatchewan Watershed Alliance. Okay, and you got Colin, Bill, Monica, Amila. Okay. No, we'll start from the top. I just wanted to make sure everybody's was captured. I had asked everybody to send it. So everybody did, but I didn't see Tom's name. So that's why I just wanted to make sure as we go through it, we can see everyone's name.
Just that nobody put their
name,
there,
so he
I
said
just-
he would like to.
so
That
my
was his
Not
interest.
that I would like to, I just said,
Oh.
here's my name. If nobody's on it.
Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to start at the top and then we'll work our way down.
And what are we doing? We picking new ones here?
Well,
Or we identifying who's on them?
we're already no, we're identifying who put their name, who wants them. And if you already sit on it, then you already sit on it.
Excuse me.
Bill?
Can we have a discussion first and see if council is in favor of continuing where they are? And if there is a majority on that, we can go forward with it instead of wasting a whole bunch of time here. Pardon me?
I was saying we can go down the line and ask whoever's on it if they want to stay, and if they don't, then change. Yeah,
You know what committees you sit on?
yeah.
Yeah. I understand that some of you really want to sit on the committees that you sit on, but you also have to understand that there's other members of council that want to change. So we have to be fair. So Brazo Foundation, we have Tom there. Well, let's ask Tom, Bill, not Bill. Tom's request is to stay there? Okay. So we're good to go there? Okay, Drayton Valley Chamber. Bill and Monica are,
Want me to follow
Colin
you
is
the
on
link?
there. Sorry? Who was that? Sorry? Oh, okay, okay. So Drayton Valley Chamber, Colin sits on there now. And Tom, oh, so there's two? Oh, as the alternate. Okay, so it's Colin and Tom. And we have Bill and Monica that are interested. Bill, it's up to them. Okay, so Colin and Tom, are you good to give that up? Okay, Drayton Valley Community Foundation. Do you sit on it now or did you, or you sit on it now? Do you want to sit on it now or would you like to try something different? You are easy?
Just another thought that I had going through the list is that it seems to me that if you're sitting on the Drayton Valley Community Foundation, there's probably three committees that kind of tie in all the time. And you should, it would be kind of interesting to be consistent because the information becomes consistent. And the Healthy Community Coalition. And so that's sort of where I thought, wherever that is, then keep the same, just because the information flow, it almost looks like you could put them all together, but they're separate, right?
Mhm.
So when I think about the Community Foundation, Hospital Authority, the hospitality, they should be same people. It's the same group and I think the people all meet the same, right? They're all.
Mhm.
Just a thought.
Okay, so Colin currently sits on that. Colin is willing to stay on it or he's willing to not stay on it. So does anybody else want to sit on it or is Colin going to stay on it? I thought I saw somebody's name, but it's not up there, so. Looks like it's you, Colin. Okay, so we'll put a question mark there for Drayton Valley Community Foundation. Maybe somebody will. We're going to come back to that one. So Drayton Valley Hospitality and Tourism, who sits on it currently? Monica, do you want to stay? Okay, Monica's going to stay on that. And as a council alternative then, Bill?
Should we have Monica maybe as an alternate for DVCF and then I'll be an alternate for DVHT or? What do you
Okay,
think?
to rotate, yeah. Sure. And then you can kind of have that information. So then you'll stay on that one? Okay. And then Monica can always go and vice versa kind of thing? Okay. So Drayton Valley Library, we have Monica and Rick. Rick sits on it currently and has spoke that he'd like to stay on it another year. Okay, do you want to be an alternate? Yeah. Yeah, I find that one, well, I mean, I find some of them difficult because you don't really know what's going on when you're an alternate, right? Unless, like you said, the groups are kind of similar, right? Then you kind of know what's going on. Okay, so EPBR, who sits on that? Monica, do you want to continue sitting on it? You do? Okay. So, Tom, you're okay? Okay, so Monica, and do you want to be the alternate then, Tom? Okay. FCSS, who sits on it? Oh, Amila. I don't think he wanted to be on it because you have his there. You only have one and he was picked. Where to find his message? So Pam, do you have, so he has economic development, education, police, fire, safety, Drayton Valley Health Foundation, PACT, and Youth Advisory. Okay, so he's good. So, Colin, if you want that one, okay. And who would like to be an alternate? Okay, Tom? Healthy Communities Coalition. Rick sits on that now.
Like, I'm happy to stay on it, but also happy.
Okay. Healthy Communities Coalition, we need need an alternate. Okay, Monica? Okay, NSWA. Oh, sorry. Homelessness and poverty, we have talked about that committee will no longer be an internal committee. So maybe we need to have a discussion around that. Well, we have had a discussion at our planning meeting, so I think we need to finalize that, where we're at. Rob?
Yeah, so at the planning committee, actually, it might have even been before that, we had a request for administration to look into whether or not the committee had continuing business based on where we were against our homelessness and poverty reduction goals. Administration had a look at that and is confident that the work of that committee is widely achieved as it was set out. And so it may be an appropriate time to wrap up that committee. I think the committee operations as well have started to wind down. That's the committee itself, kind of having run out of meat on the table is kind of wrapping up. So if council is comfortable with that decision, then we wouldn't appoint anybody to it today, and we'd officially wrap up that committee's operations.
Okay. Tom?
Humans Helping Humans comes up later on down. And it seems to me that homelessness and poverty reduction is wrapping up rather than ramping down. So somewhere we have to call a committee of some sort where we have discussions about how we're going to handle the next 2 or 3 months. So it's not actually ramping down, it's going to ramp up and is ramping up. So how do we keep council engaged and involved in those discussions?
So I think the committee itself is winding up operations. But is your question about these are still issues in the community? And so how are we going to address that?
Well, and if you plunk it into FCSS, then fine, as long as that's, because there's going to be lots of discussion yet. So somewhere along the line, that counselor for the FCSS will need to be fully engaged as we move forward, if that's where you're putting. And it goes to Humans Helping Humans and Warming Hearts and the whole thing.
So you are correct. Later on in the committee's list, Humans Helping Humans has invited council to fill a spot on their board. There are many organizations that are involved in this conversation. And over the past year, we've established the Homelessness Forum, which is a partnership of a large number of groups in the community that are looking at issues around homelessness, mental health, and addictions in the community. So I think you're absolutely right that the issues of homelessness and poverty are not wrapped up, that we can't fly the mission accomplished flag on homelessness. But I think we are transitioning away from this particular committee to a wider community approach.
Colin, did you want to add anything? Because Colin's kind of leading the homeless forum.
Yeah, so we did have a meeting this week, Monday. We're gonna have another one in a couple more weeks. So what we're doing, Tom, is we're just building strategies, longer term strategies, built, geared towards, maybe looking at this from a community perspective, right? And then from there, building out some plans and some, concrete things that we can go to the government with and say, hey, we have this, this, and this in place. Give us some funding, please and thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, that's moving forward. There's lots of engagement there. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of good representation there and ideas going around. So would we need to make a motion or we just no longer have this committee?
Well, if the decision is that we won't appoint anybody to the committee because we'll wrap it up, we'll make one motion to approve all of these decisions at the end.
Okay, perfect. So moving on to NSWA, we have Tom here. Tom, you sat on it before?
So for me, it's with the county representative being the Reeve, keenly interested in that. It gives that opportunity for that connection somehow, whether they're Zooming or actually meeting in the Pioneer Lodge or wherever you're meeting. I think that's the really key thing for the NSWA and paying attention. So you're there. I'm with you all the way.
Okay, so Rick will stay on that. And I don't believe, do we have an alternate there? You could put Tom down. Tom, are you okay with being an alternate?
The admin rep, do we normally have
I don't know.
somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there's a council rep and there's an administration rep.
Yeah, and that's fine. I don't
yeah.
think you need an alternate.
Okay. Okay, we'll just have Ken there. You can take Tom's name out. Okay, Police and Crisis Team Committee. This is the PACT committee. This is another committee that isn't having a lot of meetings lately. Did you want to speak to this, Rob?
Yeah, so over the last 6 months or so, a PAC team was introduced to the region. It is based out of Rocky Mountain House. What we've originally, we were quite concerned about whether that would be of benefit to our particular area of the region. However, it does appear in implementation, the PAC committee is spending at least 1 day a week here in this community, and the benefits we are seeing in the community. So the primary goal, which was to bring a PAC team to the community, has essentially been established, not in the way we had hoped, but that's been accomplished. So the committee itself has, since the announcement of that PAC team, has operations again, kind of winded down. A number of the key people involved in that have stepped away from the committee. So at this point, I think the question is whether or not council is prepared to not appoint somebody to the committee and just allow the committee to wind up its operations, or if we'd like to define kind of a new, more localized purpose and put some effort behind that. However, there are a number of the key players that had been involved in the conversation early on have stepped away from the process, so they feel the objectives have been met.
Is everybody okay with that, Bill?
Yeah, I was on that committee and I totally agree with Rob's assessment that it's not required any longer. And if anything in regards to that committee, I'm sure that it could be discussed under the Policing, Security, Fire and Services Committee.
Okay. Perfect. So won't have that committee. We'll move on to Pembina Area Synergy. We have it as the deputy mayor. Is everybody okay with still leaving that? It'll rotate as the deputy mayor rotates. Tom?
Just fine. Are you, have you been getting meeting requests? Okay, good.
Have you been going? Yeah, they have. They've had a couple. You might have to open up those emails. Okay, so we'll leave that as the deputy mayor. Pembina physician recruitment and retention, we have Colin and Bill. You'll be the alternate? No, just one. One county rep, one member at large. Yeah, so Bill and Colin. Rise Project is another one that's wrapping up, I think.
Yeah, so with the RISE project wrapping up and having the presentation at the last meeting, kind of showing what the next steps would be. My understanding is Dr. Ungor is looking at other opportunities to continue to do research in this community. But at this time, the RISE project committee is wrapped up. And so there's not a need to appoint a counselor to the committee at this time.
Okay, perfect. We have Yellowhead Regional Library. So I would assume this would be you, Rick? Yep. Since you sit on the library, and then alternate probably Monica.
No, I think what happened is you put Pat Adamson as a 2 or 3 year appointment, so.
But was it a
We
2
don't-
to
we-
3?
Well,
Rob?
I gotcha. Because there was, following the election, the thought at the time was that the Yellowhead Regional Library Board member is typically the Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board member from council. But it is, there is some learning process to kind of get up to speed. And so we had appointed Pat on a 1-year schedule. So I believe we can have a look if we're interested, we can transfer that role back to Rick, or there is likely the option to continue to ask Pat to take that role. But it was, when we'd originally done it last year, it was thought to be a temporary measure as kind of got our feet under us following an election.
I do find their value of sitting there. I know when I sat on the library board that I attended these meetings and I enjoyed them. And I know that there is representation from all the municipalities, right? So we would be the only one municipality that doesn't have a counselor there. And it was great to kind of be involved with areas, right?
I'll take it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have Rick there and we have Monica as an alternate. Okay, Humans Helping Humans. Who would like this one? Monica? Okay. Monica? And alternate? Rick? Drayton Valley Community Health Foundation. So this is a new one that we have. And we have Amilla, so that one's easy. So Amilla and an alternate. Colin, thank you. Okay, ECDC, we have Colin and an alternate. Monica, thank you. Youth Advisory, so we have Amilla and Monica. How many committees are you guys kind of on maybe, or do you really want to be in it? Milla's on one. So, okay, so we'll put Amila on there. And do you want to be the alternate then? Okay,
If I could. So the Youth Advisory Committee is a new committee. The terms of reference are still under development. We attempted to have them ready to come here today, but they just weren't. So I believe we might have a first look at them on the council meeting agenda today. But the idea is that we'll appoint someone from council to the committee, and then as soon as we're able to finalize the terms of reference, then we'll move forward with that committee.
okay, perfect. Okay, so we're good. We've done all the external committees. Central Alberta Mayors Reeves. The Northern Alberta Mayors and Reeves haven't had a meeting yet, Pam. Could you just maybe touch base with them and see? That's the one that we belong to is Northern, right? There's been a few central, but there hasn't been any Northern. And we'll move to internal committees. Policing, Security, Fire Services Committee. Nobody has their name down. Who currently sits? Both Rick.
I have here, it's a 2-year term, but
Oh.
I'm fine with switching if somebody else would like to sit on that committee. I would like to end up on the Sustainability Committee at some point, but I can do that a year from now if need be.
Okay, so we have Rick and Bill. Rob?
I believe the comment of the 2-year term relates to the terms of reference for the previous design of the committee, and that council is appointing to these committees for 1-year terms.
So they're 1-year terms?
They're 1-year terms. Yeah, they're all the same.
Oh, okay, and these don't come up? I thought you said these don't come up, or is it just for members at large till spring?
Members at large in the spring,
Okay,
but we appoint the council members to these committees.
okay,
today.
so we have Rick and Bill and Amila and Monica. Okay. Okay, you're fine too? Okay, yeah, and I think Amila had a request as well, so if you guys are okay with that? Okay, we'll put Amila and Monica. Okay, sustainability. Rick, thank you. And we need another one. Who had so much fun on the boat? I think Rick's kind of looking at you, Tom, like, come on, Tom. You want to go? Okay, awesome. Okay, Tom and Rick. You guys did such a fantastic job that you guys are going to have to build, I think you got big plans to build a dock and a hovercraft this next year. Houseboat. Big plans there. Awesome. Okay, recreation, Bill and Amila, do you guys currently sit on it? Oh, Monica, do you want to stay? Okay, so Monica and Tom. Oh, sorry, Tom. Do you want to stay?
But we haven't had,
Maybe, yeah.
do we have Bill and Colin on?
So Bill and Amila. If you haven't had any meetings though, maybe you want to give it a, I don't know. How many meetings have you had? Wow. So Monica, you want to stay? Okay. Tom, what are you thinking? Okay. So Bill and Amila. Monica. Where are you at here? We got Amila on policing. Bill, do you want it? Okay, so we'll go Monica and Bill. Amila's on policing, so. Okay, and then we have economic development and education, which will be now become the ad hoc, so all 7 will sit? Or do we still need 2 representatives at that table?
You'll still need 2 representatives for the committee with the public members.
Okay, so for economic development, I think we have Colin and Amila. Are you wanting to stay? Okay, so Colin, I think Amila probably wants to stay as well. So there's our 2 reps there. I know there's 3 though, so it was Bill's idea to rotate. So if, I know Amila wants it, right? And he sits on it currently. Education, who is that? That's both Colin and Amila. Okay, do you want education, Bill? Okay, well then, do you want economic development, and we'll give, unless, does somebody else want education? I'll call in Amila again. And Amila's not here and he requested to be on both, but he could be either or, but I think it's good for another counselor, like it is. So, for education. So Colin and Amila, Colin and Monica for education. And then I wonder if, yeah, economic development, Colin and Amila. I don't know. Well, no, it's Colin and Monica on education. Yeah. That's why I was like, well, you know what? Put Bill's name there, put Colin, Amila, and Bill, and then you guys can talk about it when Amila's back. Okay? Because he did, I mean, I'm trying to think, he gave all of his committees, I think he ended up getting 3 of the ones. He got Drayton Valley Community Health Foundation, he got the Youth Advisory, and he got the fire, right? Those were his requests. So I know he currently sits on economic development, so I'll let him decide. When he gets back, he's back on the weekend, you guys can talk about it and then see who wants that. Okay, and that is it then. And we'll call a 5-minute break. Oh, Rob, did you have something to add?
Just one last piece. I thought I had a note in here, but it's with regards to the Communities in Bloom. So
Okay.
part of the Communities in Bloom initiative that we've reinitiated is we need to establish a committee. Previously, when we participated, the town participated in Communities in Bloom, it was an external committee. However, that committee is no longer around. And so the question is whether we look to see if we can find public members that would run an external committee, or as an alternative, we discussed at the administrative level that it might be a project that the Sustainability Committee could undertake. And so if there's interest in putting that forward to the Sustainability Committee, that as a project, then we can do that and we don't need anything further. If we would like to pursue an external committee, then what we might want to do today is appoint a counselor to that external committee.
Any conversation on that? What is the Sustainability Committee thinking? Rick?
Since I'm on it now, wasn't really what I
Talk
thought
about
I'd
what you
be
wanna do?
sinking my teeth into, but,
Okay, that's fair enough.
you know, it is what it is. If that's the best route to make it happen.
Do you
I
think
it's-
at the community, at the Sustainability maybe committee, that you guys could maybe iron out of where you think it would be a good fit, maybe if it fits under another committee?
Sure, or if we want to create
Or if you just want to create one?
a subcommittee of some sort to take care of it, sure.
Yeah.
It's a conversation we can have.
Okay. Tom, are you okay with that? Okay. It'll be on your first agenda item, that and houseboat building. Okay, we'll call a 5-minute, 7-minute break and we'll be back at 10:20. 10:27 a.m. We'll move on to 4.2, Brazeau Foundation Board Appointment, Community Member at Large for the Town of Drayton Valley. Who is speaking to this? Certainly isn't me. I know, I was just wondering who is going to kind of read us or lead us in discussion here. I think it's Mr. Osmond.
I will. So the Brazeau Foundation Board has an open spot, and they had advertised that position for available. They got one application, and it's from a sitting board member. So the board is asking for the appointment of Mrs. Vader to the board.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. So are there any questions or comments for administration? Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Colin.
Says it was advertised in the Western Review. Was that also the Free Press? Neither here
I
nor there.
apologize. I don't know.
Not a big deal. And the other thing, just looking at the purpose mandate there, I know we had some discussions about a housing authority within Drayton. And sorry, this is a little off topic, I guess, but does that fall under the purview of that foundation now?
So the foundation is established as a seniors housing foundation. However, there is some precedent in Alberta for them to expand that mandate a little bit. It's not a straight addition because they can't run other housing the same way they do seniors housing, because they have the ability to requisition for seniors housing, which they don't for other elements. So there is an ongoing conversation about how we might be able to engage the foundation, Brazeau Foundation, as a partner in other types of housing needs in the community. So.
Good. Okay, any other questions? No, is there a member of council that would like to make a motion and appoint? Tom?
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we appoint Ms. Jeanette Vader for a one-year term on the Brazeau Foundation.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. I think that Jeanette would be a fantastic member to sit on this. She does so much in our community. She just received an award at the Mayor's Gala for all the service that she's done in the community. So it's very much appreciated. Is there any further comment, question, or debate on the motion? None. I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. We'll move to 4.3, Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board member appointment. Brazeau, and we don't do the Brazeau County, so just the Drayton Valley.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Hans? Come on down.
So just a point of clarification. Brazeau County appoints a counselor to the library board, but the founding library or the founding municipality of the library board needs to affirm that appointment. So that's one of the things we'll do this morning is the county's appointed someone, but we have to affirm it by motion because we're the founding library.
Okay, so they've appointed one
The county has.
member. Okay, Tom?
Just a point of clarification, the county has had their organizational meeting then?
Yes,
We-
they have.
Yep.
So is that what we do first, or do we want to?
So it is included in the recommendation. So I would suggest we allow Hans to speak to the request for the appointment of the public members. And then we will address the ratifying the county's appointment of Councillor Swap.
Okay, perfect. Hans, go ahead.
Thank you, and through the chair to the rest of council. So for the library board, the positions that are coming available are based on terms. There are 3 members of the public at large appointed to this board that have been put forward their names as the only ones to be on the board again itself. So it has been posted as being recommended or has to go by the regulations. So Lindera Cowper-Smith is putting the name forward for another term. I'll get back to that name one more time. Karen Higgerty and Sandra Blades, they all put the name forward to be appointed to this board again as public members at large. I said I would come back to Lindera Cowper-Smith because her term, she served already multiple terms on this board. And as it stands in the municipal or in the Library Act, the council has to pass a resolution stating that there may be a reappointment for more than 3 consecutive terms. This would be her 5th term. And that means that that has to be part of a resolution as well to be stated as such. Like the CEO said, the ratification of our county councillor has to happen at this moment as well. And as clarification, in the package down here, you see that the composition of the board is a certain amount of members of the public at large. But in 2010 already, we have a board established with 5 to 10 members of the public, and the board serves at the moment with 8 members at large, plus the 2 council members, 1 from Drayton Valley and 1 from Brazil. So the composition of the board is larger in that sense than you might expect on the board package, but it is correct that it's already for multiple years this amount of members. So what's in front of council is to appoint Lindera Cowper-Smith, Karen Higgerty, and Sandra Blades to the library board. And with that, the addition of a resolution stating the additional terms for Lindera Cowper-Smith, and then after that, the ratification of the county councillor. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So how many members are to be appointed today in total?
In total, 3 members of the public at large.
Okay, so 3 members and 1 has already been chosen by the county though, right?
So it's 3 members of at large, plus we're going to ratify the county's
council.
appointment of their member,
Of their member that they chose or the counselor?
the councillor.
Okay, the counselor, okay. Okay, so any questions for administration? So we would be looking for a motion then to appoint both Karen and Sandra. And then if there was we could leave that 3rd space vacant. And then other applications could come in, or you could do a resolution to change, to allow Lindera to come back for a 6th term. Is that how it kind of works?
Yeah, administration's recommendation would be to do the statement first of the additional term possible for Lindera Cowper-Smith, so that she can be appointed as one of the 3 members at large.
Okay, any comment? What is everybody thinking? Rick?
I'll just, it's my understanding that Lindera is not going to return as the board chair. That's just based on a conversation that I had with her. So this appointment would be simply to be a board member, not the chair. It's my understanding the board will be looking at a new chair.
Okay, so I guess then with that conversation, Rick sits on the library board, that we'd be looking for the appointment of the other 2 members, and then would one just be open again to the public? And if Lindera wanted to apply to it to sit on the board, then she would? Or I think this is for the chair, or is this not?
No, and that's all, that's the point
Okay.
the only point I was trying to make, that Lindera would, this isn't for her to come back as the chair, but simply be a member at large on the board.
Okay. Did you have something to add, Hans? No? Okay. So if there's no other questions, then I'm looking for a motion, or I'm looking for more conversation or something here. What is everyone thinking? I know that this, there's different terms, I think, for the members. They're on some are on a 1-year, some are on a 2-year, some are on a 3-year. I know there's been interest in the past, just to serve on these, and they've been turned down because there's been board members that have felt that they've wanted to stay. It's nice to see some new members, you know. I know both Karen and Sandra are new to the board, so it's nice to see. And we have a new counselor on there that's nice to get ideas and things like that. I don't know how often, if that vacancy wasn't filled or there wasn't resolution made, then if a application would go out again, or they just leave that board seat empty, or how that works. Do you know?
Yeah, I don't, do we know if there was other applications other than these, Hans? Or do we just get what is recommended via administration in the library?
Thank you for that question. To my knowledge, this is the only applications that came in for the board.
Tom?
Despite the Brazeau Foundation and Jeanette Vatter being appointed generally as, and for a long period of time, and she is a valuable member because of her knowledge. But I think the discussion at the library board and others is that perhaps there's a point in time when your timelines are, otherwise you don't give opportunities for people because it just stays the same. And I think we should consider that at both the Brazeau and the library board as your, if you got three or 4 years, then you have to. I know how it works, but
Yeah.
it's just about the circulation and getting people involved. It's a great question.
He left for a while,
About 4 years.
so he's only been about 4 years.
I only get 3 more years and I'm out. Good point, though.
Yeah, good point. I think that when it's nice, I think what Tom is saying too is that if we fill up all the spaces, then there's not an opportunity for some new blood to come in and you know, and I know that there is members in the community that would like to get on the library board, but there hasn't been a spot. There's always been a fight for a spot. So if you leave this spot open, then there's an opportunity for other applications to come in and you know, and if it doesn't, then Lindor always has an opportunity to apply again, right? To sit on if nobody is interested. So I'm just going to go to Rick first.
Yeah.
So it's Hans's understanding that these were the only applications, right? So you're suggesting that we approve the other two, we leave the last spot open and try again to see if we can get applications for that open spot?
Yeah, or you can just leave it, right? And then the board can decide, because there would need to be a resolution in order to bring Lindora back, right? Because in your, is it policy or in your, what's it called?
So it's, the library is governed by bylaws.
Yeah, so in that,
By the
under the
acts.
society, it says that you can only serve a certain amount of time. And Lindera has served that and then had a resolution come back and serve that additional, right? So that's where Tom and I are saying that maybe it's time just to appoint the 2 members and then let it go back to, the board can decide if they want to advertise again or to leave it vacant, right? Because there only used to be, I can't remember how many board members, and it just kept growing, like, let's add a couple more, let's add a couple more, right? So,
So it's the board that makes that decision to extend. It's us, is it
it's
not?
us,
Isn't that what
the
you're looking for?
recommendation comes from the board.
Okay, I guess I'll wait for a motion then. And
Okay, Rob?
So I just wanted to speak a little bit. So the number of members on the board is established by a town bylaw because we're the founding municipality for the library.
But it was established by the library board, brought to council.
As a recommendation,
Yeah.
yeah, because, and likely at that time, the library was considered internal to the organization as well. That's a change that we've seen across the province over the last decade or so, where the libraries have become separate entities. But they are governed by a bylaw. Our particular bylaw states that there are up to 8 members of the public members at large on the board. And so if council declined to appoint 3 members, they would have 7, which is more than the minimum number required to continue operations on the board. The term limits are established in this bylaw. And again, it's to make sure that there's a rotation of new people and different kind of ideas and approaches, and to provide that opportunity for others to participate. It's a tool that we see commonly throughout bylaws that govern various boards structures. So there is a mechanism there for us to extend to allow for a 6th term. And then additionally, there can be a conversation that the board can operate with just 7 public members. But ultimately, if that spot is to be filled, the motion has to be made by council. So the library can decide to advertise it again and bring back additional proposals for council to appoint members, but the decision to appoint would happen at council.
So I did sit on the library board in the past, and there was several applications that came in. And in order to keep members that were sitting on there, they changed the composition in terms, increased it to accommodate that. So I know there is applicants like in the community that want to, are willing to sit and want to sit on this. Just food for thought. Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion? Or do you have another question? Go ahead, Bill.
No, I just want to get some clarity because you say there's other people out there, but you've advertised, and this is the only thing, the only ones we've received.
So that was actually the comment that I wanted to make, is that the advertising is done by the library, and this information was handed to us from the library. So it is our understanding that there were only these 3 applications, but what I was going to suggest was that maybe we could defer the appointment and seek clarification, because we can always appoint this last spot on the library board at our next meeting. But it'd give us the opportunity to verify that, in fact, there were only 3 applications. It's our understanding, but I wouldn't want council to go forward and to find out later that there might have been other applications.
Okay, anyone willing to make a motion?
Are we going to table the whole thing, or do we want to approve 2 of the appointments and leave the other one until we get more information on the process?
So it's of course at the discretion of council. I mean, you could appoint the 2 members that don't require an additional approval for a term beyond the term limit. I would also recommend that we at the minimum ratify the county's appointment of their counselor to the board, so that business is out of our way. I think you could appoint the other 2 members and just say, before we make a motion to allow for a 6th term, we want to verify. And so if I remember the new technology, we could postpone that final part of the decision to a future meeting.
Okay. Want me to give it a crack?
Sure.
Oh, the motion's there. I don't think that's quite what we want, is it?
Yeah, there's only 2 names that you can put in there because the 3rd would have to be through a separate resolution.
Okay, is that what you want then? Okay, I'll make the motion that, oh, okay, sorry, I was reading the top part. We just want the recommendation there. I'll make the motion that council appoint Karen Hickerty and Sandra Blades. To the, as members at large, to the Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board for a 3-year term expiring October 31st, 2025. And further, council ratify the appointment of County Councillor Randy Swap to the Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board. And lastly, that we hold off on the final appointment until we receive additional information on the process for appointment to the library board and if there were additional applicants. Does that work?
If we could substitute postpone for hold off.
Sorry?
And I.
Substitute postpone for what?
Hold off.
Hold off
Yeah, because
on appointing the,
I think if Pam picked it up, you had used the term hold off. I'd just like to say that we're going to postpone the decision
okay,
for more information.
okay. Did you get that? Postpone instead of hold off?
Rob, I'm just wondering if we even need that part of the motion because there is a motion on the table for that. And the second part isn't a motion, it's a resolution. So it would not be technically included in this. So it would have to, it can come back because we have to change the terms through resolution or through a resolution.
Yeah. The advantage of postponing the conversation around the appointment of, Lindera Cowper-Smith would be that the postponement includes a request for more information from administration. So that it's being postponed so that we can provide additional information. So that's the advantage of addressing it in the motion.
Pam, did you get that? Yes? Hey, Tom?
Motion's on the floor. The question that I have, and it was raised by Councillor Clark, is that the process, the advertising. And so I'm going to make the assumption that it's social media, both papers, but you're going to clarify that for us.
Okay, any other question, comment, or debate on the motion? All in favor? Okay, that is carried. We'll move on to 4.4, FCSS Board Appointments. Brazeau County Community Representative. Okay, Hans, is this you as well, or Jen? Yeah? Good morning.
Good morning. So yeah, our FCSS bylaws require that we have a Brazeau County community member on our board, and our current representative, Ethel Mancow, her term expires October 31st, 2022. The position has been advertised. We received one application from Ethel, and we are requesting that council appoint Ethel Mancow as Brazeau County representative for a 2-year term, which would end in 2024.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Are there any questions for administration? No. Is there a member of council that'd like to make a motion? Monica?
I'd like to make a motion that the council appoints Mrs. Ethel Mancow as the Brazeau County representative. This ensures that the board maintains its ability to function with a full contingent.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? I'll ask all in favor. That is carried, and we will adjourn our organizational meeting at 10:52. I think then we make a motion in council, or do we make a motion now to accept everything? No, that we'll do that as a whole as we accept all the appointments.
So we can do that before we adjourn this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we adjourn, we're looking for one motion, and that motion is to, for the appointment to all the committees and the, how do you want the motion to read? Do we have a motion wrote or recommended?
I think just that council appoint the representatives to the internal and external committees as outlined in the document.
Okay, Bill?
I'd like to move that council approve the council committee appointments and that the Homeless and Poverty Reduction Strategy Committee, Police and Crisis Team Committee, and the RISE Project Resilient Youth and Stresses Environment Committee be disbanded.
Any comment, question, debate on the motion? Okay, all in favor? That is carried, and we will adjourn the organizational meeting at 10:53 a.m. Okay, everybody's good? We can continue to move without having a break? Okay. So we will move then into our regular council meeting. I will call the regular meeting of council to order at 10:54 a.m. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Administration has no additions.
Okay, council? No, is there a member of council that would like to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Clark, all in favor? That is carried. Are there any corrections or amendments to the adoption of the agenda for the October 26, 2022 regular meeting of council? October 12th statutory public hearing agenda for proposed amending bylaw 2022-10-D controlled substance separation space. October 12th non-statutory public hearing agenda for discretionary use development permit DV 22-048 at 5137 50th Avenue. October 12th non-statutory public hearing agenda for discretionary use development permit DV 22-046 at 7306 Township 485A. No corrections or amendments. Is there a member of council that would like to adopt these? Councilor Sheriff, all in favor? That is carried. And we have two proclamations today. Our first proclamation is Fire Prevention Month. As we all kind of get to it here. So our first proclamation is Fire Prevention Month, October 2022. Whereas Fire Prevention Month is celebrated every October to raise awareness about the importance of fire safety, and whereas in a fire, mere seconds can mean the difference between a safe escape and a tragedy, fire safety education isn't just for school children. Teens, adults, and the elderly are also at risk in fires, making it important for every member of the community to take some time every October during Fire Prevention Month to make sure that they understand how to stay safe in case of a fire. Therefore, I, Nancy Dodds, Mayor of the Town of Drayton Valley, do hereby proclaim October 1st to the 31st of 2022 as Fire Prevention Month in the Town of Drayton Valley, dated this day, the 26th of October, 2022. We have a second proclamation this morning, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October 2022. Whereas breast cancer is the most common cancer among women, it is the second leading cause of death from cancer in Canadian women. Whereas it is estimated that 28,600 Canadian women and 270 Canadian men will be diagnosed with breast cancer in 2022. Whereas October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and while we celebrate the remarkable progress that has been made against breast cancer, it is still true that 1 in 8 women in Canada are expected to be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. Therefore, I, Mayor Nancy Dodds, on behalf of the Council of the Town of Drayton Valley, do hereby proclaim October 1st to the 30th, 2022 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the Town of Drayton Valley, dated on the 26th day of October 2022. And we'll now move into our delegations. Our first delegation today is the Drayton Valley Museum. Good morning and welcome. Did you want to maybe come to the mic over here? Or you can sit if you'd like to. Charlie? You can either stand or you can come and sit, whichever you feel more comfortable. And then just make sure, I think it's the green light on the microphone is on.
Good. Good.
Is that?
Good morning, everyone.
Is that part of the presentation? Perfect. Yeah, if you want to hand it out, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us. My cohort's going to pass some information around. I'm here on behalf of the Drayton Valley District Historical Society and the museum the package will give you the information. I'd just like to explain a little further that we have taken on a project to like that. Is that better?
And then, do you want to introduce everybody that's with you, or just maybe let us know who's all with you today?
Well, I could introduce them. You probably know them all. Pamela Schaub is over there. She's our president. Sheldon Fusen just distributed stuff. He's my partner in crime down there. Glenn Bowen is another one, and members of our society. We are planning the construction of a community gazebo and picnic area for the museum. It's going to be located just north of the church building. There's a nice grass area there. The gazebo is going to be about 35 feet in diameter. The pictures in your package there will give you an idea of what it'll look like. It may not be exactly like that. That one is located at Tomahawk, but that's give you the idea. The drawing that's attached there will give you some idea of the measurements. So we expect the cost factor is going to be in the $100,000 range. It'll be precast concrete and steel, designed to last for a long time, and minimum damage, of course, for anything. We are going to promote this project as a community project, community gazebo and picnic area. We would like to have it supported and funded by the Drayton Valley Museum, Town of Drayton Valley, Brazeau County, and any other organization in town, such as the Drayton Valley Rotary Club, Lions Club, the Drayton Valley Hospitality and Tourism, and any others that would like to join us on this. We already have about $20,000 in donated funds, and we have another $10,000 sitting in the wings, waiting approval of a development and construction permit. And that's in the process. I've already filed the papers. It'll be coming to you for review, I guess, and approval. We hope there won't be any problems. We're also encouraging donations from any businesses. We'll be looking for grant funds also. We're also encouraging donations from individuals. The Drayton Valley and District Historical Society is a registered charitable organization. We can issue tax deductible receipts, and we're prepared to do that. That's basically all I can say. You have the information. If there are any questions or
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you. Are there any questions?
I do have a couple of questions. I had the opportunity to go down and actually walk the grounds with Charlie and to look at the site. I've had the opportunity to go out to Tomahawk a couple of times to look at that gazebo. I did ask a couple of questions about today we're sometimes dealing with people that need a place to sleep. And so we have tent cabins and cities, not cities, but tents that come up. And how will we handle that? So And then there was a discussion, Charlie, as you recall, whether or not we would pour the foundation before winter. So there's two questions in there. One, how do we handle the folks that may want to sleep overnight there sometimes, and the foundation?
We had hoped to do the pour the floor this fall, but September was kind of a lost month for me, and I had some problems, and getting the drawings ready for with the permit application. So with the delay, I spoke with Eric Spice. He's been working with us on this project so far, and he recommended not doing the floor this fall, simply from a standpoint of having the concrete cure properly and the cold weather coming and so on. So it's all on hold until next spring. We hope to get started as soon as the ground and weather conditions permit.
Thank you very much.
We're also at this time, and Eric is doing a lot of this for us too. He's obtaining pricings for the precast concrete steel for the structure itself. So once we get all that together, then we'll start our applications for funding.
So are you now reaching out to the community to say as soon as we get the development permit, which shouldn't take long, we're then going to reach out to the community to start even a broader campaign for fundraising? And then you're not requesting today any dollars from the town at the moment?
We are reaching out to the community, and that will be more as time goes along. I've also sent information to the county so that they'll be aware of it, and so on. So we will be asking the town and the county both for a contribution for the project. You'll have the information in your budgeting package. So.
Thank you for clarifying that. That was going to be my question as well. So are you planning between now and spring to do some sort of like fundraising? And how are you kind of getting it out there that this is happening so we can help you spread the word as well?
Yes, we'll, as soon as we get the cost information so that we have a better figure to work with, then I'll be applying for grant funding, probably from CFEP. And we'll be looking at any other grant sources also. We'll explore funding from every possible source.
Perfect. This is the preliminary that the big ask is coming. So we have a small window to decide. Well, yeah, it's a wonderful project. Thanks for sharing. It looks very nice. And you said this is already, a building like this is already up in Tomahawk. Is that what you said?
I'm not sure just what you were asking. I have a little bit of a hearing problem.
Okay, sorry. So this building already is constructed in Tomahawk, one similar to it, or this picture?
Ours will be very similar
Very
to that.
similar.
Might not be exactly that like in looks, but it's basically, as the drawing shows, it's 8-sided, approximately 35 feet in diameter. The walls will be probably 8 feet high, and then sloped steel roof above that, and so on. We haven't. The one at Tomahawk has a fire pit in the middle. We haven't totally decided on whether we're going to put one in there or not. That is a good feature, but it also lays it open for vandalism. And so on. And of course, there's a wood supply that has to be considered. We will be talking about that and as a group ourselves and making the final decisions over the course of the winter.
And were you able to talk with Tomahawk how they raised the funds or what type of donations and fundraising they did?
I haven't talked with them, but my understanding of the Tomahawk one is it was pretty well a private personal venture.
Thank you. Counselor Evans, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a couple quick questions. So the walls on the gazebo are precast concrete and they
Yes.
come up preformed and you just stand them up?
Yes,
And slab on grade for the floor, like a thickened slab?
right.
Okay, yeah, was just curious.
Yep.
Thank you.
At every corner, there's a steel post up and a support for the roof. It's totally precast concrete and steel. There'd be no wood for vandalism or fire hazard or anything else.
Perfect. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much for coming and sharing. I think it's a great idea. We have to go back to the table and decide how we can help and be part of this project. And we look forward to you bringing us more information and letting us know if, if you're going to be doing fundraising and looking for donations, we can help spread the word there and make sure that we're helping you with that. And I know we were trying to set up a tour of the museum before the snow hits. I don't know if that will happen. If it doesn't, we'll have to make sure that we coordinate that in the spring. But we appreciate you all coming today, and we'll be talking to you very soon.
Oh, thank you very much for having us and giving us the time. And we certainly will keep everybody updated much as possible, starting early in the spring, I hope.
Thank you very much. It's a great idea.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, moving along the agenda, we will go to 7.2 RCMP report. Staff Sergeant Aaron Matthews, I don't think that you have anything. Did you want to just come and say a few words or? I think we weren't sure if you had any department reports ready for us, but I think we were a little bit worried that we wouldn't be able to see you before your retirement.
Yes.
So we wanted to maybe know when your expected date of departure was and maybe what your plans are and what the plans are going to going forward. And if there's any news of what's kind of happening, maybe just that.
Well, so my date of departure will be November 17th. And I will be hanging around. So you'll probably see me from time to time. Don't have any major plans to leave. So you're stuck with me for a while. I will likely be at the next council meeting. So not a problem.
Okay.
We don't have any stats right now. There was a little bit of back and forth there and we just couldn't get them in time. With regards to the staffing situation, unfortunately, we did really get some somewhat bad news last week. I was away at a meeting. The staff sergeant position did collapse. There was no applicants, no qualified applicants that applied, which unfortunately is just a sign of the times. And I'm not sure quite what the problem is. It's got nothing to do with Drayton Valley itself. Actually, there was 4 staff sergeant positions that had been posted and they all collapsed. So there was no applicants for any of them. Whether or not they just don't want that job, I don't know. But I think a lot of it has to do with the same problem across the board, no matter with every police service. I mean, we're having problems with recruitment, retention. And right now with the idea of possibly the Alberta Police Force type thing coming in, if that is having an impact on individuals deciding to just stay where they are and see what happens there before making a move, I think that may have something to do with it as well. So like I said, we're not unique in the fact that it's just Drayton Valley, because it isn't. So I hope to have some more news on that shortly. I know that we did have a couple of candidates that applied by exception, which means that they weren't necessarily qualified because they didn't have enough time in the rank or whatever. However, that has yet to be decided higher than me as far as whether or not they're going to proceed in that kind of a direction. But once they have decided, certainly Councillor McGee and I believe it's Brazeau County Reeve Guillaume will be in the community interview. So again, I don't know what their plans are. With regards to our 2 corporal positions, it is now with the promotions unit. They've gone through their first reading of rationales and hopefully the second reading. So hopefully by next week, we will be able to advise the 2 individuals that were chosen or who were chosen, that they have won the positions, and then we can get the ball rolling on that type of thing. So, and I know that we just had our GIS corporal position was just posted, and it's closed now. And I'll hear tomorrow how many applicants we actually had for that position. So hopefully it's getting going. So
Thank you very much for that. So then in the meantime, when you depart on November 17th, then Hopmer, right?
Hootmer.
Hopmer?
Yes, Sergeant
So,
Hootmer will be
Sergeant-
acting staff sergeant.
Okay,
Hootmer.
so, and you'll be acting for as long as where you need you here or till something changes, right? Okay, that's wonderful. Well, we're very excited about that and we're very excited to welcome you on board. And I think we're feeling very confident that we'll be in good hands. We're sad to see you go and wishing you the best, but we know you'll be around the community and we'll still have an opportunity to see you, but we feel confident we're left in good hands. So
Absolutely. I have no qualms leaving the detachment in the fine hands of Sergeant Hootmer.
perfect.
Very qualified, so.
Good. Are there any questions? Councillor Ballas?
Thank you. So right now, then, your complement is not full.
No, we are full with regards to constables. Basically, I think we're short 1 when it comes down to the constable cadre, but the supervisory cadre is where we are lacking due to individuals promoting, individuals have decided to resign. And of course, Sergeant Hootmer was Corporal Hootmer in our GIS section. So we have our GIS section all acting as acting corporals. So we still have the supervision. Unfortunately, it's just not as complete as what we would like it to be. So hopefully that gets taken care of fairly soon. So.
Any other questions? Councillor Evans?
I got a quick one for you. So these, the staff sergeant position, you'd indicated that because of the uncertainty with the, and that's fair.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm just wondering, are you seeing that just in Alberta or are they seeing that in other provinces as well? I'm just wondering sort of how much the possible change is playing into it, or is it like, the healthcare system where there's just simply not enough people, it seems, for the positions? Just curious.
There is enough people for the positions, I believe. I don't really know what's happening in other divisions. It's difficult to say. When they open up these for promotion, any job for promotion, it's available across the country. So first of all, they will take individuals from within K division, which is Alberta, and then they would go to any candidate. So obviously in the 4 staff sergeant positions that were posted in the Western Alberta district that collapsed, we didn't have any interest from outside of the province, obviously. Otherwise, they would have gone that route. But so, people, I think right now are also concerned, mortgage rates, right? So, I mean, those have just taken a big jump. And And if individuals have their house right now where they are, and the thought of, you know, getting up and having to get a mortgage rate at whatever percentage it's at now, comparative to what they have it locked in as, I think that is also a competing demand on individuals as far as applying goes. But, I mean, we like to keep things within, you know, K Division. It's always nice to have new blood, for sure. But, yeah, we're not really sure what the reasoning is, except for the fact that, you know, there's just too much unknowns right now. So, yeah. Even with our cheap real estate, because I mean, we're constantly sending out messages and saying to people, you know, hey, come to Drayton Valley. It's a great place, you know? And people ask me if I'm leaving, and I'm going, no, not yet. They haven't run me out of town yet, so I'm planning on staying. So obviously I like it. So I have nothing bad to say about it, so. Mhm.
Well, we appreciate you continuing to act on our behalf even after you're done with the RCMP.
Oh, yes,
Thank
I
you.
will. Absolutely.
Counselor Clark?
Aaron, do you think the boots are just too big to fill here?
Pardon me?
Do you think the boots are just too big to fill here?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is, eh?
Small, big boots.
Oh, yeah.
Well, wonderful. There's no other questions. Thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you one more time here before you leave us.
Sounds good. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye. Okay, there isn't a lot of business arising from the delegations, other than, I'm not sure with the museum, if that's something that we want to be considering, or are we looking for further information to come? Like, is there an application, or was there anything that, with that delegation?
I was messaging with the team to try to nail that down. Sounds like there was a letter of request that had come separately for the request for a delegation.
Okay,
And so we're getting that redirected, so it can be a conversation in budget
okay,
unless council wants to discuss it right now.
okay. How's everyone feeling? Discuss it now or leave it till budget? Just to keep it fresh in your mind? Budget? Budget? Okay, we'll leave it to budget. Sure.
I wonder if there's any thought being put into what to name that thing. I wonder if we propose it behind Charlie's back to name it Charlie Minor gazebo
Yeah.
thingy.
Yeah.
Not behind his back, but quietly without his knowledge.
Yeah, yeah. 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 Yeah, we can definitely chat about it for sure.
The Tomahawk one is, it's, in my mind, it's a bit dark inside because they don't have enough windows, but
Oh.
I don't know if they're going to change that, but it's the Strocher boys that put that together
Oh,
out in Tomahawk, yeah.
okay, wow. Very nice, yeah. Yeah, it is very beautiful. Okay, we'll wait to see that for budget, and then for the RCMP, we will see how things go November 17th, or if there's any news on those applications. So we'll move into our decision items. We have 9.1 community grants, fourth quarter allocation, and this is Ms. Strand. Good morning. Come on down.
Okay, so we are in our fourth quarter for our community grants for this year. Just gonna scroll down to our spreadsheet. So the annual allocation this year was $30,000. To date, what has been allocated is $25,503.75. So we don't have a whole bunch of funding remaining. The committee did meet in regards to the 3 applications that were received. One was for the Eagle Point Blue Rapids Parks Council for their Forbidden Forest Pumpkin Walk, which is happening tomorrow night down at the Pembina Nordic Ski Trails. We received 1 application from the Rotary Club of Drayton Valley for a community needs assessment. And then we received 1 application for the Roger Coles Memorial Youth Sport Grant for Tyler Reed Harrison. And that one is for snowboarding training. So as I said, the committee did meet. The recommendations were is that we do support the pumpkin walk. It's an annual event. It's open to the entire community. It brings lots of information about community resources, and there's many partnerships involved in hosting that event. The request is for $1,000. The Rotary Club of Drayton Valley, with their needs assessment, what they're looking at doing is having some events where organizations and community members can discuss needs in the communities and ways that the Rotary Club can help. Upon looking at the criteria for the community events grant funding, a community event is typically described as an event that provides a leisure or social opportunity or raises funds for programs and services within the community. This doesn't really fit the criteria of a community event grant. However, looking at FCSS granting policies, however, this really narrows down to assessing community needs and raising awareness about community issues. So we felt that it might better fit an FCSS grant as opposed to a community events grant. And the final one was Tyler Harrison. It's an opportunity for a young community member to go to do training in Calgary. He will be competing in Western and national slopestyle events. So that very much fits the criteria for the Roger Coles grant. So the amount of funding that we do have remaining is $4,496.25. So we had recommended the $1,000 for the pumpkin walk, and then the remainder of the funding, which would be $34,9625, to go towards Tyler Reed of his $5,000 request.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for administration? Councillor McGee?
We know that Tyler is, I actually was able to give him an award.
Yes.
Weeks back. I'm just curious though, is that if the funding that we provide, it would go to his billet and or does he decide how it just seems a little, I'm not sure if that's what we would normally do is pay for a building in another community, but.
If you have a look in the package that's attached, there's some pretty significant fees in regards to taking this training. So it's my understanding is that we would be paying, contributing to those fees that are involved in the training. Let me just see here.
Page 55. Case that there's $2,362 that are paid, that's already paid in July.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. So this would go towards fees as opposed to billeting.
Yeah. Yeah, 2362.50 for fees. Another 680.98 for fees.
Yeah, I think I had the same question that Tom had, because I just looked through all of our other applications throughout the year. And I went back to one individual here who was looking at competition fees and travel expenses for youth. And can I say the name?
Yeah.
Bella Choi, Isabella Choi. And I remember that she was declined, and I know that we were going to see if she fit somewhere in the box. So I don't think she did, but I look how we decided, or the recommendation was to not give her the funds. So then I look at the Roger Coles being that sports and how not a lot of people apply for it. So I think that, I feel in my opinion, we missed that we should have done it, because I even look at the national leadership, the students that came, and it came out of the contingency. And then I look at the fees and I feel like we're kind of giving to some, we're flexible with others and stuff like that. And I just feel like we missed the one there, but here and I'm just not getting how we could maybe change it so that we're really able to help the youth in our community equally a little bit more, right, or something?
And
Where
in
it's,
in regards to that application, they were invited to submit some more information for the next round, but they did not. So we wanted to look at it again.
Counselor Clark?
Yeah, and I think the arbitrary words here, the Western Canadian National or International Sport Championship Competition. And so I guess if we look at this application, it doesn't necessarily, it's training, correct? Not necessarily a competition, is that what
Yeah.
it is?
It's training to go
Right.
towards the competition.
Yeah, and I agree with Nancy. I think we should maybe kind of remove those words and then it doesn't hamstring us in terms of, just open the criteria up, right? That's my thought anyway. Yep.
So you're asking then that we go back and look at the criteria for Roger Coles and make some amendments there to make it a little bit more open and flexible?
Mhm. And I don't know if we could, I mean, because it's been in this year, reach out again and see if she did go and if there was a way, back for the other one that we refused. Just because I feel like we accept some, we don't accept some, we don't. And then there isn't a lot of applicants when I feel like if we're going to accept this one, then we should have accepted them all, or, the other one, or, seem to kind of fit in the box or don't fit in the box. And Counselor Ballas?
Just a question. If this 349625 wasn't approved, would that be moved forward for the next quarter?
We carry it forward?
No.
Yeah, this is the fourth quarter. We haven't in the past.
No, it was for competition in Spruce Grove or in Alberta. Well, and that's the thing where I was saying,
Yeah.
sometimes we alter it to fit, like Colin was saying, this doesn't really fall into that headline, just like the leadership didn't either. We seem to be able to be flexible to find where they fit, but in that case, we didn't, right? And so that's why I'm like, we turned that down, but we didn't find where it didn't fit that day, but today, it's just, Mr. Othman?
I was just going to say with regards to carrying the funds forward, we haven't traditionally done that in the past, but if council felt that it was in their interest, that they wanted to carry that funding available, to make it available for programs in next year, it is possible to carry it forward. But traditionally, we have just allowed the amount to expire at the end of the year.
Okay, I don't know if there's any other questions. If not, then we need to make a decision on looking for a motion.
Can we just clarify the numbers? So we have, the recommendation is that council approve the fourth quarter Drayton Town of Drayton Valley Community Grant application for a total of $4,496, so the $5,000. We are suggesting that if EPBR gets 1,000, the Rotary Club gets 1,000, and the Tyler Harrison Fund comes to what?
So what we had thought as a committee is that 1,000 should go to EPBR, the Rotary Club should be redirected to the FCSS grant run, and that Tyler get the 3496.25.
And
I just want to clarify the community needs assessment. There's been some, I think some discussion about what that community needs assessment actually means. Some people think we're going to go out and see as a Rotary Club, what the community needs. Others have seen that as being, okay, we need, that needs assessment is going to start to discuss housing and low-cost housing and those kinds of things. And they're looking for funding from the RDN as well. So can you talk to me about that?
So what their application says, and I did talk to Ms. Vatter as well, and you're right, they want to look at all things community needs, such as housing, such as recreation, such as cultural opportunities, anything that is relevant to the community, homelessness. They described everything. What specifically in their application is things that that Rotary Club can do to support. So that's specifically what they mentioned. Where they have applied to is Warehouser, not the RDN, it's Warehouser. So they are looking at funds elsewhere. And as far as a community needs assessment, that really, really does fit an FCSS grant really well. Not as much a community event grant is just what we found. So if council chose not to fund it here, or either way, we do intend on suggesting that they apply to FCSS for this initiative, as well as here.
Yeah, at best it's confusing, but if they're applying for Warehouser grant for the same thing and we think it's important to get a needs assessment done, I'm of the mind that we give them $1,000 and then reduce the funding for Mr. Harrison. That's just my mind.
You can make a motion and do whatever you want. That easy. You have that power. And just a quick question, FCSS funding, they're done for the year, right?
They are, however, the grant run for next year is open right now. Funding applications are due somewhere near the end of November. The FCSS board meets early December and makes those funding decisions in December so that those applications that were received are then notified in December, and then so that they could have their checks like January 1st.
Okay.
So if they are to apply to FCSS, it will be right away.
Lots to consider. These always seems to be the hardest ones are these granting.
And you know my position on it.
I do. Councillor Ballas.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor McGee that we should consider the Rotary, they're local. I appreciate what Tyler is doing. However, I'm not sure if we're going to set a precedent for the future. Everybody that wants to go take some training are going to come and ask for funding. The definition of this is confusing to me, and I'm not sure if it really fits into what our policy is right now.
So I think we're struggling a little bit with the Roger Coles one. So I think that we would like to, the consensus is we'd like to look at maybe the wording and change that a bit to, so it's either going to fit a little bit more locally or something, right? So I'm kind of getting the sense of that. But we still have to make a decision today. So that's something we can look at going forward. Would there be a suggestion or, I mean, this is the budget reporting period, so we still, can we postpone? Oh, Mr. Osmond?
I think that was the suggestion that I was going to make, with the exception of maybe the Eagle Point Blue Rapids event, because it is scheduled for tomorrow.
Yeah.
The other two decision points could be postponed and we could gather some more information or ask some more questions so that we have a better, clearer understanding of how they fit. And so that's an option on the table too, is to postpone those two pieces.
Okay. And then typically in the past, we haven't had a lot of applicants for the Roger Coles. That's one that's always kind of, and then we've seen a couple this year. So I mean, it's fantastic that we are. And I mean, I would encourage supporting our youth in any way that we can, but I definitely think we need to revisit that. And I mean, I would like to see if we'd reach out and see if, you know, the other applicant would reapply, right? And then to see that as well for that postponement. Okay, so is there a member of council that'd like to make the motion and then postpone a portion of this, or? Councillor McGee?
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion that we accept the Eagle Point Blue Rapids request for $1,000 and that we postpone the Rotary Club decision as well as the Tyler Reed Harrison decision for further information.
Perfect. So there's a motion on the table by Councillor McGee. Is there any comment, question, or debate on the motion? None? I'll ask all in favor. That is carried. Perfect. So we'll wait for that information and then we'll bring it back.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 9.2, Early Childhood Development Center Board Amending Bylaw. Ms. Taylor, no, I'm gonna say Hans is gonna come. Perfect. I know. Okay, good morning again. So you are here to talk to us about the board amending bylaw.
Thank you, and through to the rest of council as well. So in front of you is the amendment to the bylaw for the board of the ECDC. This is in front of you because it has been changed over the last decade in the composition of council members, yes or no to this board. So the Early Childhood Board did undergo those variations in 2014 and 2016, and now we are proposing an amendment to put one council member on the board again, as currently there's no council member sitting on this board. The relationship, to strengthen the relationship and support the direction and developments in the operation of the municipal daycare in our community and for our community is important to us. So that's why administration and by, of course, manager of the board of the daycare itself, the request is to have one board member position for council on this. That means that the change has to happen through a bylaw. This bylaw 2022 16C is attached to your package. It requires, as being a bylaw, of course, a first all the way to a third reading, which is possible in one meeting if there's consensus to do that as a third reading as well. So in front of you is the request to give first, second, and third reading to bylaw 2022 16C as presented.
Thank you very much. Any questions for administration? Councillor McGee.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that council give first reading to bylaw 2022-16C as presented.
Thank you very much. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried. Is there a member of council that'd like to give second reading? Councillor Sheriff?
Make a motion that council give second reading to the bylaw 2022-16C as presented.
Thank you very much. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried. And can we move right to third, or do we need to consider?
We need a motion for unanimous consent or consideration of third reading.
Consideration, okay. I need a member of council to consider to give third reading.
Madam Mayor, I would give motion that council consider giving third reading to bylaw 2022-16C as presented.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate? All in favor? That is carried. And a final third reading. Okay, Councillor Clark, thank you.
Okay, I move that council give third reading to bylaw 2022-16-C as presented.
Thank you. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried. Okay, we'll move on to 9.3, policy PD-04-22, issuing compliance certificates to repeal and replace policy PD-01-08, issuing compliance certificates. And this is Mr. Voigt. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Worship Council. Administration has begun reviewing some of the planning policies to ensure that their practices are up to date and of industry standard. So the first one we're bringing forward is we're proposing a new policy, PD 0422, issuing compliance certificates. And the purpose is to repeal and replace the existing policy, PD 0108 of the same name. This policy basically outlines the procedures for our administration to issue compliance certificates. Compliance certificates are a verification of whether the property meets the land use bylaw. So the major or the primary change was that from the term, basically, if you're, say, for example, you're selling your house, generally the requirements from the banks and the realtors and the lawyers are that you have a certificate or a compliance certificate to prove that the property meets the bylaw. So within 6 months, if you've had a real property report done, you can just submit that and we'll accept that to complete your compliance certificate. But if it's longer than 6 months and we accept, and then the term is up to 10 years, we used to accept them if you submitted a statutory declaration of the changes that were made to it. In reviewing what other municipalities are doing, this is no longer the acceptable standard. Now the 6 month to 10-year requirement is that they submit a statutory declaration to declare that there are no changes and the real property report is correct. And so you can understand the value of having that document and that correct information. So that's what the primary purpose of this new policy is. And we also took advantage of doing some housekeeping, minor changes and wording and stuff to bring it up to date. Basically, these are basically the need for when you sell a property, or the other option that landowners have is they can get title insurance, which covers if there are any errors. So they kind of can go both ways. They make sure their real property report's good, or they get title insurance. So in any case, to issue a compliance certificate, we need to have accurate information, and administration's asking council to approve policy PD 0422, issuing compliance certificates, and repeal and replace PD 0108 of the same name. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for administration? So just a question, we do accept title insurance? I thought title insurance wasn't the same.
No, I was just saying
We
that's
don't,
another
yeah.
option that
Yeah.
landowners have. If they don't want to update their property reports, they can come and deal with us later.
Yeah. Councilor McGee.
Are you looking for 3 readings of a bylaw, or you're looking for, as I go through then, yeah, tell me what you're looking
I believe we just need a motion to approve the policy
So to approve and then repeal the
and
old one.
repeal
yes.
the other.
Any other questions, Councilor Evans, or would you like to make a motion, please?
I'll make the motion that council approve policy PD 04-22, repealing policy PD 01-08 currently in effect.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? None, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Moving along, we have 9.4, the first reading of bylaw number 22-14-F, which is the electronic transmission of assessment and taxation documents. Good
Awesome.
morning, Ms.
Thank you so
Thompson.
much. I do believe we can do all three readings. I didn't think about that when this was submitted, but I do believe we can do three readings. So if we could do three readings, that would be ideal. So the town currently sends utility bills via email and through our financial software. Serenic has the same functionality to send our annual combined property tax assessment and tax notices via email as well. As the cost of postage, paper, and envelopes continues to increase, going paperless where possible will save the town money and contribute to a more paperless environment. Once the bylaw passes third and final reading, corporate services will work with communications to advertise the change and to get tax papers to sign up for the 2023 tax season. We also will be sending information with utility bills so that all owners will have the ability to sign up in way ahead of time for the next tax season. So the only change from the last time I presented this or that we went over this is that in section 7, I believe it is. Section 6, presumption of receipt. As indicated in section 608(2) of the Act, a person who opts to receive notices by electronic means is presumed to have received the documentation as indicated in section 3, 7 days after it was sent. Any questions?
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any questions for administration? Councillor Clark?
When you send out the communication, is it possible to have like a QR code on there so somebody can just scan rather than have a link?
I would think so. I'd have to talk to Jen about that, but we've done it for other things, so I would imagine it'd be pretty simple to do. So
Let's
I'll make a
it
note of
easy.
that. Yeah, sounds good.
Colin's all tech savvy. Nathan, everything's good? Okay, perfect. Any other questions for administration? Councillor McGee?
Does this address the question that Councillor Ballas and people that are away for the
No, this is a totally separate issue or.
This is either
Yeah.
paper or electronic mailing, right?
Yeah, so this gives us the ability to send tax notices via email, just like the way we do utility bills, if residents sign up to have e-billing.
So does it quickly follow that you'll be going down that road? Is it just a natural?
So the challenge that had been brought forward by Councillor Ballas was the resident spent part of the time away from the community throughout the year. And it wasn't the notification piece, it was the payment piece that they were looking for utilities. So we do have a TIPS program where you can pay your taxes in installments, but we don't have that for utilities. And that's what that particular customer was looking for. So it's a completely different part of the utilities process as opposed to taxation. This piece allows us to do electronic billing similar to what we already do with utilities. So the resident will be allowed to elect to receive their tax notice by email instead of by mail.
So the resident has the ability to go online and make payments. So that's why I'm confused as if you lived in Arizona or spent 6 months, why you couldn't just go online and pay.
Not saying they couldn't, they could. It's just the inconvenience. Some places don't have proper internet. They just want to make sure that their utilities are looked after.
Okay.
In regards to the taxation, if you're already getting your utilities, will it automatically?
No, you're going to have
make
to elect.
application?
Yeah, well, you're going to have to elect for this so that, it's separate from utilities. We want to make sure because utilities, first of all, you have to consent to receive your taxes via email. And second of all, utilities are often in someone else's name than the owner of the property. So, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, or is there a member of council that'd like to make a motion? And we're looking for 3 readings today. Councillor McGee?
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion that council give first reading to bylaw 2214F, which is the electronic transmission of assessment and taxation documents.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried. I need a motion for second reading. Counselor Ballas? Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? All in favor? Is there a member of council that would like to
Madam Mayor?
consider?
I would make a motion that council consider giving third and final reading to 2214F, electronic transmission of assessment and taxation documents.
Thank you very much for that. Comment, question, or debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried. And I'm looking for a final and third reading. Counselor Sheriff, thank you.
I'll make a motion that the council gives the third and final reading to bylaw number 2214F, electronic transmission of assessment and taxation documents.
Thank you. Any comment, question, or debate on the third and final reading? All in favor? That is carried.
Thank you.
We have one more decision item. Lunch is here, so I'm not sure how extensive of a conversation we're feeling that the DeBee lands will be.
I think this one will be pretty quick. Shelley is not here today. The new general manager of municipal services, Abid Malik, is here. I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce him to council. He landed here in the municipality on Sunday, joined the team on Monday morning, and has been rushed to the point where he's ready to present to council today. So I'll turn it over to Abid to talk about this project.
Well, thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you very much, Rob, and thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor and members of the council, this RFD is about DB land clearing. DB land is centrally located in the Drayton Valley town. It has two issues. About 7 acres of the land in DB land are covered with brushwood and trees. And because of that, it has become a camping ground for the homeless. And the other issue is because of the trees, there is a risk of fire. So administration is proposing that the town conduct the mulching of the trees so that we can avoid the homeless camping over there and the fire hazard is eliminated. So it will be done at the cost of $52,000, and we are proposing that this will come from the operations budget. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for administration? Counselor Sheriff.
You suggested that the amount come from the operations budget, but here it says $20,000 of it will come from operations and the rest will come out from the CAO contingency.
Yeah, that is also kind of a operations
Operations,
budget.
but-
Yeah.
Counselor McGee.
Well, the first question is timing. Can we do that? Can we do that this winter?
I believe we can do that.
The second piece is we had an interesting conversation with Weyerhaeuser, and I think Weyerhaeuser would like to be involved to some degree. I don't know what that means, but when we talk about a park, I think they would see that as part of their sort of some of their mandates. So I think they would want to really get involved. And the other side of it is that we know that Ricochet owns a well site on that particular land, and I'm not convinced that they would be saying, yes, we're in. And so if you looked at the total picture of the park and said, I think this winter we could start to do some clearing, but in the spring we could be getting some paved paths, we can get some fountains, and some benches, and those kinds of things. So that's the broader picture of a park downtown. So we would need to involve both Weyerhaeuser and Ricochet, and I think we should consider that. But I'm also of the mind that if we start the process, if that is our contribution and we start the process, I think that would be a welcome thing from my point of view.
Thank you, Tom. I would mirror your comments as well. I know that we have willing partners at the table that are willing to help us beautify and, you know, make this the heart of the community. So if that's where I think I was going with this, could be a bigger conversation. So I just wonder if today's conversation is just for the clearing of the brush and for like the fire safety, and how could we continue this conversation going forward? Mr. Osmond?
Yeah, so I had conversations when this had originally come forward through Public Works with the park supervisor about what this would look like. So the clearing of the underbrush, the fire smarting of the area is really the first step to establishing a centerpiece park for the community in the Debele lands. It will take us, the park supervisor estimates, it will take 2 to 3 seasons for us, once the brush is out of the way, to recondition that area into park quality. And in that time, we can advance the concept of that banner park for the community. You know, the idea of forest existing within the community and engaging with partners to bring in the other pieces, trails, and I know there's been a proposal for fountains and other things in that area. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the budget, but this initial step, we realized to provide some big opportunities for us to address a couple of areas of concern, particularly the camping and the fire risk of that forested area.
Councillor Ballas?
Just one question. Is there an ASP for that area?
There was a ASP that spoke to the cleared area on the west side of the Debele lands that spoke to housing, but the forested area was not addressed for development.
So is there a concept plan by Brazo Foundation, or is it just?
Concept plan is it's vaguely there, but it's mostly talking about the next steps in housing. And then including that as a piece. And when we know that the El Dorado School, its life is limited, there's land there for housing, there's land to the west for housing. I think we're in great shape to continue to create the park and housing. The question from Councillor Ballas was the intentions at one point was the Chinese garden and things like that. So I don't know how old that area structure plan is. But I do think yeah, and so I think we need to start with the clearing and then I see the 2 seasons, at least 2 years or so. I get that. It'd be interesting whether we can actually get in there this year and do some work. Have you talked to the contractor? And the reason I ask contractor, because Weyerhaeuser may have a different view and be willing to look at contractors.
Yeah, so we, in order to get this project underway, we had a conversation with a contractor about what was possible, and the underbrush clearing part that we're talking about here today can be completed at any time in the year, including the winter time. Now, that being said, one of the things that we will do if it's approved here today is we'll put it out to make sure that we have an opportunity for people to get bids in on doing the work for us and that we have competitive pricing. So we've had the conversation with one contractor, so we understand the scope and how it would work, but we haven't yet put it out for general proposals on completing the work.
Councillor Evans?
I'm not sure if you have to worry about this, but have you checked into And you may be fine in the winter, but any restrictions for nesting birds, ungulates, all that kind of stuff? I know this chunk of bush is in the middle of town, so maybe that's not applicable, but I'm just curious. Better to ask the question now than to find out we got an issue later.
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Evan, I think this is a very, very good question. And we need to get those approvals in place if they are needed for the nesting. Although it's a winter season, but we will have to check with the environment. It's a very good point.
Good question. Okay, so today we're looking for, the recommendation is that council approve the fire smarting of the forested Debee lands to a total cost of $52,000 to be funded from operations. So we're looking for a motion, if there's no other questions. Councillor McGee?
Madam Mayor, I would make a motion the council approve the fire smarting of the forested Debee lands to a total cost of $52,000 to be funded from operations.
Thank you very much. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? Councillor Ballas?
As per Councillor Evans' concern, should we add subject to?
Or will that be part of the process as they're putting the contract out of condition? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, so we will do that as part of putting it out, but if council likes, it can be done as a condition too.
Well, I don't think it needs to be conditioned. There is about 12 deer that live there all the time. So that, but I don't think that that's going to be a problem with Alberta Environment. There's another herd over there, and there's another herd over there, and there's another herd over there. They may have to move. Sadness, or they may love the park. I don't know.
It would be part of the condition, I'm assuming, when an RFP or a interest of work went out, right? That an environmental.
Well, that'll drive the
Yeah.
time when they do it. If they get a hold of Alberta Environment and they say, you know, you're restricted through these times because of whatever, nesting dodo birds or something, then they'll have to do that work outside of that designated time by Alberta Environment. Again, it's winter. I don't think there's an issue.
Yeah.
It's just worth a phone call to Alberta Environment just to confirm that there's no restrictions. And I think Public Works is committed to doing that, so I think it's covered. Thanks.
Perfect. There's a motion on the table. I'll ask all in favor. That is carried, and we will break for lunch at 12:05 p.m. and move into our department reports. 10.1, Ken, you are giving us the planning and development report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council, right now, there should be surveyors out on the airport doing our survey plan. They're also going to pin all the lease lots, and they're going to provide us an as-built. So that'll be great. We'll have all that mapping that we've never had before. Continuing to work on the background stuff on the MDP, the vision and mission, and we're going to compile that from our existing documents. They should be very similar to the corporate plan and the economic development stuff, and so we'll draft something up for that. We've got some population projections. We've got our council reps. We still are looking for a couple of names from the community. And we're advancing some work on the downtown plan, and we're working with Mr. Malik to get us some transportation maps. And we met, of course, with the developer to talk about the MR lands. Yeah, the issue was what percentage of the MR would be turned back or kept. And basically, that's my report.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any questions for Ken?
A quick question on downtown revitalization. Have we engaged anybody in downtown?
No, well, we started talking about it at the Economic Development Committee meetings. And we're also working in our planning department to put together a couple of presentations from a couple of commercial associations, such as the 24th Street Association in Edmonton to just come and do a couple of presentations and just start developing. What we want to do is we want to start sort of coordinating the groups to develop some policy that we can put in the MDP. And then the next stage will be to actually identify actions and a plan for the downtown next year.
Okay, I would just suggest there's probably some really active business owners that are right
Yes.
downtown that would be.
No, they would,
more
yeah,
than
the
pleased to be.
chambers and the business, they all have to be part of the solution, not.
Yeah, they all got to be on board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I just had two, one in regards to the airport survey. Is that for acquiring the land or the proposal from the town? That's what
It's
that's.
for the deposition lease renewal with the province. They now changed their requirements from having a sketch to a survey.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And then for the MDP, when will be an opportunity for the members of council to come and sit and learn about the project? And when's the first meeting and public consultation happening? Do we know any of those dates?
We have rough dates. They were outlined in the terms of reference.
So the same.
Basically, now till the end of the year, we're going to be focusing on background research materials and studies. And then probably early in January, we'll kick off the engagement and the advisory committee activities.
Okay, perfect. You have Nancy, Tom, and Monica. I think it was Colin, Monica, and myself, I think. Yeah.
Colin.
Is that right? For the MDP for sitting on as council representatives?
okay.
Yeah, I think it was, right? Yeah. And then maybe if you could just send the three of us an outline and kind of what the dates look like again, just so we kind of tentatively know. That would be great.
You'll
Thank
be
you.
the first to know.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We're very excited. I'm speaking for the three of us.
I think as we talked in our economic development meeting yesterday, we're on a journey now.
Good,
Hopefully, the
yeah.
economy will let us do something.
Good. Well, thank you very much for your report. And we'll move to 10.2, Municipal Service Department Report. And yeah,
Madam Mayor,
you-
members of the council, this is a long update, and I presume that everybody has read it. And if you want, I can go through one by one, or if you have any questions, we can do that, whatever you like.
sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, we won't put you through reading that all to us. I know that you're just getting caught up to speed on a lot of things as well. So what we'll do is we'll maybe open it up if anybody has any questions for a bids report.
Thank you.
Councillor McGee.
I just had one, and that was the vandalism at Discovery Park. I hadn't heard about it, but it sounded to me like it was pretty serious, like bashing and breaking and vandalism. Know how serious it was?
I'm not sure the full extent. I was thinking I'd seen some pictures, but it was a different event. But I can get Shelley to give, probably have some pictures and stuff. We can show council what happened and what it looks like now that we've addressed it.
Okay.
Hey, any other questions? Here's everybody just kind of combing through it. Looks good? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll look forward to next time. I think we'll make you read it, though.
Yes.
Maybe.
Will do.
Thank you very much and welcome and nice to have you today. Yeah. 10.3, Fire Department stats and updates for the month of September. And I'm going to step away for a brief few minutes and Councillor McGee is going to step in my place.
Sure. Just kidding, sort of. Go ahead, Tom.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to take a few minutes to go through the stats for the fire department as well as through our enforcement services stats. I'll start with the enforcement services stats. So for enforcement, we had a total of 155 complaints, which were followed up by subsequent investigations for the month of September. 19 of which were community standards complaints, primarily due to unsightly properties. So I'm sure now as we get more into winter, that will subside somewhat. So we've been busy with that. We then had 46 traffic infraction complaints. The bulk of that was down at the parking lot down at the Omniplex, dealing with the vandalism and the trash and the stunting and all the stuff that was going on down there. So we've been busy down in that area. We also had some complaints about people blowing by school buses with the flashing lights on and that kind of stuff. So it is, school is now back in, so people should be aware that they have to follow the school bus rules and the signs. We also had 62 animal control complaints. That involves animals at large, dog barking complaints, aggressive dogs, those types of issues. We also had 2 other bylaw complaints, primarily the fire services bylaw with people in their fire pits in their backyards, people complaining. They end up 9 times out of 10 being nothing of serious issue, but those were the complaints there. And then we had 20 other complaints involving other provincial statutes such as trespassing, weed control issues, stuff like that. And then our officer was involved with 6 miscellaneous calls. Miscellaneous calls are where they are helping either other town departments or they are helping other enforcement services. There was a few times where our CPO was helping the county bylaw or the county CPOs and vice versa. Generally happens when they need to investigate a property or something like that and they're by themselves, so they just ask for assistance and we provide that assistance to them. So that took us to a total of 155 complaints. We also issued 77 tickets, 45 warning tickets and 32 actual tickets themselves. The bulk of that was speeding violations. Again, because of September, kids going back to school, a lot of people were blowing through our school zones, so there was a lot of warnings and tickets issued through those. We also issued 202 permits through the Travis permit process. I know council has just approved us getting funding for that in 2023, but wanted to just update council on that. We are busy with that, so we get a lot. Some other things that have been going on, our CPO attended the HW Pickup School for an assembly. It was kind of a meet and greet. And during that time, he talked about pedestrian safety and bike safety with the kids. He also attended and participated in the Terry Fox Run with Evergreen School. And he has been busy doing foot patrols through our trail system within the town, primarily focusing on our homeless population, making sure that they are staying out of our park areas. We also had the speed trailer up, and during our back to school program, he did 28 patrols through the school zones, and which roughly equated to about 14 hours of patrolling through the zones. Just one other point in relation to our enforcement services. One of our officers is on leave right now, so we are now down to one officer for an indefinite amount of time. So just to make council aware of that. So that completes the enforcement services report. Moving on to the fire services report. for the month of September, we responded to 46 calls in total, 9 of which were fire calls. 2 structure fires. One was a mobile home that was destroyed. The other one was a shed that caught fire. We also responded to 3 rubbish fires, 3 of which were caused by our homeless population. As I was mentioning before, there was a fight between 2 factions that were out at the dump site area. And as a result, they were kicking their fire pits over, which caused some fires because it was so dry. So that's where a lot of that was from. And then we had 2 minor rubbish fires. We also responded to a wildland fire in the forest protection area, which we spent several hours out there working on. And then we had a vehicle fire, which was a semi-picker truck that we were able to extinguish. Motor vehicle collisions, responded to 4 in total, 2 of which were single vehicle rollovers with minor injuries. The other 2 were 2 motor vehicle collisions, one of which had more serious injuries. Alarm calls, we're still busy with alarm calls. We responded to 23 in total, 15 of which were residential. 1 was a hotel alarm, 1 was a commercial alarm. We then had 4 alarms at the shelter pods, which I think now we've finally got that rectified and sorted out. And then we also had two alarms at apartment buildings. Moving on, in terms of assisting other agencies, which is EMS and the RCMP, we responded to 7 incidents in total. All of them were to assist EMS. We had 4 lift and assist calls, 1 dealing with an unconscious person, another one dealing with a diabetic person, and then we had 1 cardiac arrest. And then to round it out, we had 3 miscellaneous calls. 1 was the result of a flare stack, which someone phoned in. We then had 2 calls that were public hazards. 1 was a power line that was down on the ground, and the other one was a tree that had fallen onto a power line. And that took us to a total of 46 calls for service. As well, the fire department has been busy with our fire prevention program. We have been doing a number of different programs in the community. We have done a kindergarten grade 1 smoke detector program with all our schools, which was very successful. We also did a grade 8 fire extinguisher program where we taught all the grade 8 students how to use a fire extinguisher properly. We also did a grade 5 kitchen fire safety program where we taught students about the dangers of grease fires and how to extinguish them properly and not to put water onto them. So we have a pretty interesting demonstration where we light grease on fire, we light oil on fire, and then we pour water onto it, and it makes a big flame, which freaks a lot of kids out. So it's a good lesson on what not to do. So we show them how to extinguish a kitchen fire safely if they have it. We picked grade 5 because we're finding that at grade 5 kids are starting to learn how to cook in the kitchen using microwaves and stoves and different things. So we figure that's an appropriate age group for them to start learning about the hazards that can happen. We are also doing some other programs. We had the chimney sweep program going on. We have managed to have 36 houses have their chimneys inspected and cleaned, which was approximately 5 days. So that was completely sold out and overbooked. We also started a new program, which was called the dryer vent cleaning program. One of the things that we've discovered over the years is we get a significant number of fires in the home as a result of dryers, and it's basically people not cleaning their vents and their duct systems. So we decided to initiate a program this year to give people a rate and for a company to go around and clean their dryers, the dryer vents. We had 15 houses that were that had the service done, so that's pretty good for an initial program. In terms of open houses, we had 3 successful open houses. The one in Drayton Valley, which was last Wednesday night, we had over 600 people attend the fire hall. we gave out approximately 350 plastic fire hats. So I'm sure if you walk around town, you'll see kids wearing fire hats because we had them all over the place. We also attended the Thunder game on Friday night, and that was another very successful event where we were able to promote fire prevention through the announcer, and we were there handing out different swag items as well as teaching kids how to put on bunker gear and teach them a little bit about fire safety. So it was a really good event. I know the Thunder were really pleased with the event, and they are now talking about having the Thunder players come to the fire hall to try out our fitness testing. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be fun activity. And last but not least, tonight, starting at 5 o'clock tonight is our pizza delivery night, where if you phone into Boston Pizza and order pizza, we will be delivering the pizza in a fire truck where we will test your smoke alarms and smoke detectors. And if they're working properly, you get your pizza for half price. So we will also have swag as well. So that'll be an exciting event. It's busy every year. So if you're going to do it, you better phone in early because it takes a little bit of time for that to all come in place. And that concludes my report.
Questions, council?
Tom, with respect to the dryer vent cleaning, I'm going to suggest that maybe a good group to hit would be the condo associations.
Okay.
I do, like, I'm part of a couple different condo association boards, and we do it, but I know there are others that aren't doing it. So,
right.
You know, there's probably a good half dozen that haven't been done in 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So.
That's a good point. Thanks.
So Sheriff?
I just want to make a comment about the grease fire education for grade 5.
Mm-hmm.
I started a big fire in my kitchen in grade 5. First time making homemade fries. So I had to giggle at that one. True story.
Councilor Evans?
So what's the cost to get your chimney sweeped?
Good question. I think it was $225
Okay.
to get it cleaned and inspected. And
I did my own this year,
Yeah,
but I wasn't sure.
it's in town. No, 225 in town and 275 in the county, I think. Yeah, I think that's what it was. So,
Okay. I was just curious.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just get in
The nice part
a
that,
black suit and just go down your chimney?
the nice part about that is that they can also inspect your fireplace as well. Cause a lot of people, for insurance purposes, they need their chimney and stuff, their fireplace inspected. So they're certified to be able to do that as well. So if you need that, yeah. Especially if people are looking to sell their homes and stuff like that, that's when it comes important. So.
I just have one question, Tom. When you talk about the speed trailer,
Mm-hmm.
is it able to, maybe I haven't heard it before, where you can, we clocked a guy at 200, and so it does pick up that?
Yes.
And it reads it, but not that they get a ticket because it's,
Right.
we don't have the camera systems, but.
Yeah, it will record the speeds. And so we'll get a printout. It works out pretty good because Cody has been leaving it out on a street for a week. And so we can get a daily average of the speeds in that area, as well as the highest speed and the lowest speed. An example was when we were on the bus tour and he was able to tell us that someone was clocked at 200 and something kilometers an hour on Industrial Road. We were able to determine that because of the speed trailer.
And how do you determine locations?
Generally, it's done on complaints. So if we get a lot of complaints in a certain area, we'll set up the speed trailer and just to get an idea if that's really an issue there or if it's just a one-off type thing that somebody is seeing. So.
Terrific. Any other questions?
One. Tom, have you issued any littering tickets down at the Omniplex there? I know it's an ongoing issue. I'm just wondering if we've caught anybody doing it and made them pay.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to follow up with Cody. I can follow up and get back to you. Sure. Yep.
It would be an education thing, because sometimes I just think we just had them all standing there going, what's this about? Really just, you know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, Tom, thanks very much.
Thanks.
We're now at 10.4, which is Community and Recreation Services. Hans.
Thank you. So basically, our report, of course, is in front of you in the package, but I wanted to highlight again the efforts and the progression of Indigenous training and teachings within the ECDC, both for the staff, but also program for the kids that's being set up for 2023. So very exciting that that's a cooperation with the Nordic Ski Trail location as well, because they go there once a month and Indigenous training will be part of the programming. For the FCSS, there are currently still, we are accepting grant applications for 2023 fiscal year. So the deadline for that is November 21st. Wanted to put it out there. We do have at the moment already 5 volunteers for our 2023 Snow Angels program, so volunteer program. But of course, there's still opportunity to be part of the program for our residents that want to be helping out. The Omniplex, the fitness center, started a couple of classes already, which means that there is a increase in fitness membership returning to the complex. We see the whole complex way busier now, of course, in the winter time with the ice sheets. So it's an estimate, of course, between 1,500 and 2,000 people there during the day, but for sure in the weekends, it's a busy place. The Jingle Ball events are now sold out. It says here there's one table left over, but it's sold out in the meantime. The private lessons also at the pool, in this case, the Park Valley pool, are full. We are taking a look into other moments still to plan that in the month of November, as long as we can utilize the facility. The Family Resource Network, McMahon Central Region, they sponsored November 1st babysitting course, and that's great, of course, because kids can go there and register for that while the cost is being paid for. Community services, the daytime shelter programs or warming program, we are still, as council knows, of course, till October 31st, accepting proposals to do that. But that's for this winter, so the start date for that would be December. And in recreation, the triathlon, with Triathlon Alberta, we have conversations with them regarding the location, of course, and the program that we might do next year. But Triathlon Alberta is interested in being part of promoting that in our school age area kids, to make sure that we are making it into a basically town-driven and town-local event. We're happy to see that come to fruition in 2023 as an event. Not on this here for the Wild Rose School Division. As council had discussions with Wild Rose School Division, we were looking into the location with Roger from Facilities. I'm still planning on doing a tour, looking at the joint use agreement for the location of the school facilities for our user groups, and of course, as a joint use agreement, how that is with the schools utilizing our town facilities. A tour that will include as well taking a good look into where, for instance, pickleball is one of those user groups that are still looking for indoor facilities, to take that into consideration. The other item with the Wild Rose School Division is taking a look at the field locations as part of the process of relocating a outdoor location when we want to provide that as the town to an opportunity with, let's say, our talks with each other. So the field locations, they've made sure that walking distance is important. So not all the locations that we first indicated over there will be suitable, but we'll take a deeper look into the suitable locations with each other. If there's any questions?
Questions? Councilor Evans?
I'm just curious, Hans, the indoor rock climbing walls being installed in the main pool by the end of October. Is it right in the pool? Can you come out of the pool and climb the rock wall and fall back into the pool? Or am I misunderstanding?
No, you're not misunderstanding. But for everybody's understanding, there's two climbing walls, basically. So one is inside the pool. So that means out of the water, you climb up to a, let's say, rock, like an exposed wall, and you fall back in. So when you come to the top, it overarches a little bit and you fall into the deep end of the pool backwards or whatever. You fall in the water. That's what we call the climbing wall. So you climb out of the water, you climb as high as you have the nerves or able to, and you fall back into the water. The bouldering wall is the wall outside the facility, on the front side, outside the facility, which means you climb outside, you're not going into the building, you climb outside, and there's the bouldering wall, which means you don't go that high, you go left and right, and that's that part. So if everybody understands, climbing, swimming inside, bouldering outside. Is.
Hans, the Snow Angel program, how do you get seniors signed up? Do seniors just phone in and do we advertise that?
Yes, I can relate it, of course, to the Community Services FCSS site. So when seniors want to sign up for that and want to connect with our Rotary House, our staff will take that information. And the same is for volunteers. If volunteers want to express that they want to be part of that, connect with the Rotary House, the staff over there, and they can take that information. Yeah.
So it gets advertised somehow.
I will take a look at how it's advertised and make sure that it's advertised enough. But that's the moment, yeah, that's where they can go.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Now, we go to 10 enforcement services update. That was done with the, already done.
That's correct.
And we now then go to corporate services and finance.
I don't have a formal report in. Good afternoon. I just want to say that my husband was kind enough to test out our fire detectors yesterday. So we are certain that we're going to get half off our pizza today. So I'm working on the next phase of budgeting, I guess you could say. So we're working on our capital plan, our capital projects for 2023, as well as our operating projects, and compiling all the information for council to be able to make decisions, as well as our fee schedule. And so that those will all be included in our next round of budget discussions, which is next Friday. And then I'm also working on Q3 reporting, which is a fairly significant report as well. And the last and probably the most exciting thing that has happened in our department is that our asset management old database, the new database has 100% of the assets from the old database. So everything is converted in. So which starts the new phase of inputting other valuable information into the system that will let us actually use it for decision making. So life cycle analysis. I think I might have mentioned this before, but life cycle analysis, just there is some fixing, I guess, of assets still to happen. And then the other really important thing that still has to happen is, for example, we'll have like, $10 million for a building, but separate it out into components so that the boiler system is a component and HVAC system or whatever that is. So that, because those will have different life cycles, and we would need to get reporting on those individuals. So that's our next step. But it is very exciting that the first big step is completed. So I thought council would like to know that. And that's everything for me.
Questions? Thanks, Silver. Growth services. And communications, both at once?
I'll do them one after the other here.
Okay, what do you want to start with?
I'll start with economic development, if that's all right with you.
Is it economic development then the growth services?
Yes, sorry.
Just trying to get used to it.
Me too. All right, good afternoon, Council. So as you're well aware, the team has largely been focused on compiling of the strategic plans for economic development as well as education. And it's my understanding that there will be a presentation to Council on both of those plans this Friday. So I know the team has been largely focused on compiling all that information. Apart from that, we are still working on finalizing the RRS application for submission. That's the one for the rural renewal stream, to have Drayton Valley designated as a community that would be welcoming for foreign workers and connecting them with local jobs. Also, for our business licenses, there haven't been any new business license applications since our last meeting, but to date, there have been 25 business licenses that have been issued in 2022, and I think that's been pretty good since we've still been coming through the pandemic earlier this year. And on the education side, as some of council is aware, the open house was yesterday. And although we can't compete with the open houses that the fire services are holding, we saw 33 attendees, which is pretty good. And some of the ongoing energy projects have been handed off to other departments to ensure that they continue to be successful. So if there's any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Questions, Councillor Evans?
What is the Clean Energy Improvement Program?
Oh, the SEEP one. Alvera might have to chime in here, but I believe that's the one where if you wanted to make some energy improvements to your home, we would tack that onto your tax roll to help you fund those.
To help you what?
To fund it. Is that how that works? Yeah. Alvera's been largely, she was working with Aisha on it, so she can speak better to it.
So you get like a break on your taxes if you,
It's not I don't believe it's a break on your taxes. I think the charges are just rolled into your taxes.
Yeah, so it's essentially what it will end up being is a lending program through the towns. We're working with an organization that's administering it. I think it's Alberta Municipalities. So they would be finding contractors and going through the applications to see who's eligible. But what would happen is that they would borrow money and get these improvements on their home, and we would put the amount on their taxes, and they would pay them off over the lifetime of that improvement. So the idea being that the benefit of that improvement stays with the homeowner. Because we see that a lot of people are hesitant to put $20,000 into a house that they might not be in 5 years from now. So this will make sure that the person in the house is actually paying for that benefit. And another important factor is that the idea is that the efficiencies will essentially pay for that improvement. So your utilities or whatever should be going down to pay for the taxes. And so there's lots of criteria in place and like limits in place to make sure that you can't like triple your annual tax levy per se, but yeah, that's the basic concept of it.
so is it interest free?
No,
Okay.
No.
There is an interest charge.
Yes.
You break it up over so many.
Yes.
Is it 20 years?
well, it depends on what they have done. So
Right.
the program administrators would determine that based on how long the improvement is good for. So if it was windows, it would be different than a washer and dryer per se.
Right.
Yeah. And so we're not making money on the program, but we're also not, it's going to be a net zero really for us. We're just sort of making sure that this can happen. So, yeah.
And is that currently in place? Like, are we using?
There's some, we're creating the program right now, I guess you could say, not creating it, but we have the bylaw has been passed. The first reading of it. I'd have to go look, but we did pass, I know we passed the first reading, I thought last year, it must have been just before this council. So last year, and so there are some things that still have to happen before we can actually roll out the program. But I know that we wanted to have it in place in early 2023. And so I have been involved with it, but I was not spearheading it. So I just have to go back to make sure to know what's left.
Right.
Of like what's left on our part. But we have financing worked out with the bank and how that all is going to work and what the best way of doing that is. So I know from a finance perspective, we've got it figured out, but I know that there are some things from a bylaw perspective that has to happen, but I don't know the exact timing. I think we were thinking early 2023 though. Yeah. City of Edmonton, I think Rocky Mountain House, Canmore, Banff. I'm trying to think. There was a group of municipalities that have just rolled it out or are in the final stages of having it rolled out. So yeah, it's looking to be a great program so far. Yeah.
Thanks, Adara.
Before you, oh, no, Albert, that was the question answered there. Is there? Yep, good. Any other questions? So today I heard a statement on the economic development. We're on our journey. Can you describe that a little bit for me?
Sure. If I, understanding what Ken was alluding to there, just with the development of the strategies, getting that all in place, getting that in front of council for your review and making sure that that's going to align with your strategic vision for the community, and then identifying the action items that are going to flow out of there. So that would be the journey that we would be on to make sure that we're achieving the goals that council wants to see.
Okay, and that does make sense. Second question I have is, how are we managing with our neighbors, the county, and their economic development? Do we continue to have a strong relationship?
Well, their economic development person has moved on to another community. My understanding is that they haven't filled that role to that capacity. But I can say that, I mean, my working relationship with the county, whoever is in that role, is always very positive. So I can't imagine that would be any different. My understanding is that they are waiting for their new CAO to start before they start filling positions. And then when that happens, I'm sure that will be one of the first things that we'll do is reach out to make sure that we form positive relationships with those people, because a lot of what we do connects.
Yes. Lastly, then, the Education and Training Open House, 33 attendees. Do you call the attendees as students that would be looking for courses? Is that how you'd call it?
Yes. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there last night, but the open house is geared towards students, parents, and students could be anybody from somebody in junior high, high school to mature learners. So anybody that's looking at taking programming or perhaps interested in the zero fee program as well. It's an opportunity for them to come right to the source and get the information.
Okay. Mayor Dodds.
And can I just add that Weyerhaeuser was there too? We talked about industry and we had the meeting, so it was nice because it not only did we have our post-secondary partners there, but we had industry, and I think that's one thing that we always overlook is that there is we're not just oil and gas, right? And that there is a potential for jobs and education in forestry as well. So it was really nice to see them at the table and kind of intermingling with post-secondary institutes as well, and kind of doing a bit of brainstorming. So it was really nice.
Yeah, that was great that they could join us.
Yeah.
Okay. Communications.
All right, me again. It has been a very busy last couple of weeks. We've had quite a bit going on, starting with our free tipping days. We ran that over a couple of weekends. We have put out some messaging about the new four-way stop at 43rd and 43rd. I understand that there's ongoing improvements. This morning there was flashing lights, and it looks like they may be putting in some additional stop lines to just draw some attention that it is now a four-way stop, and please do so. Also, one of the big things we've been working on with Public Works is the changes to curbside collection, and just letting people know that beginning next week, the changes will be in effect. So we've been trying to make sure that we've been going everywhere with that information, the newspaper, radio, social media. We put flyers out in our mailboxes. We've been putting inserts into the into our utility bills. So I'm really hoping that everybody's going to to see it and we can have a successful first week. That information is going to continue to roll out over the next few weeks just to make sure everybody sees it, because I'm sure there will be a few people that didn't quite get the memo, but hopefully we got most everybody. On the council side of things, we've been highlighting the new businesses, and I had an opportunity to go to Fusion Plate with Mayor Dodds. Was that last week? That was an amazing experience. I hope everybody gets a chance to go and check that out. We've been advertising for the Mayor Coffee events and preparing speeches for Points West and the new Drayton Memorial Center. We've been continuing to advertise for lifeguards for the new Ricochet Oil Corp Aquatic Center, the Recreation Fee Assistance Program, deadlines for the community grants, and we've been working with finance on advertising for the TIP program, e-billing options, and we're starting to work on our budget communications as well. So that's going to be a good focus for us for the next little bit. The week of October 16th was Small Business Week in Canada. So we put out a bunch of information just to kind of highlight why it's important to support small businesses and the impact that small businesses do have on our local economy. And of course, we're advertising for education open house and our usual stuff that we have. We're going to start the annual report for 2022, our weekly town page advertising, and our social media management, messages on the electronic sign, and just our regular updates to the website, if anybody has any questions.
Questions on communications? It's an interesting word, communications. Sometimes it seems like we could try to communicate and nobody reads what we put out there. And so I never really quite understand it. But I have one question, and I get it often from the Western Review. Are we connecting with them? Do we advertise on both? Everybody gets a slice of the pie. No idea how that works. Can you tell me about that?
Currently, we are working with the Free Press when it comes to advertising. But we've been trying to be more conscientious about if we're going to an event or doing something like that, we're putting that out to both local newspapers so that they would have an opportunity. Or if we're putting out a press release, like we're not just exclusively dealing with the Free Press, the information's on our social media channels, our website. Anybody is more than welcome to call me if they would like more information or something like that. And we've been trying to utilize both because we do understand that they are serving our community equally.
And are we advancing the idea of trying to get a page somewhere that says, here's what's going on in Drayton Valley? There was 2 or 3 different spots where people didn't seem to know or had no clue that there was on. And I don't know if that's coming back to communications or whether we've just said, you got to figure it out.
In terms of like events?
Yeah,
or...
events, right. So we know there's a Halloween thing coming on the 27th. We know there's that. But I get a lot of people go, I have no clue. I had no idea what's going on. I think, gee whiz, we advertise enough. We put it out there. Why don't we have a clue?
What we have done is we've put a community events calendar on our website, and it's free for anybody, any user group to post their information as long as it's like a community event and things like that. And we try to highlight that on our social media channels every once in a while, like, hey, stay connected. Make sure you're checking out the calendar if you want to know what's going on. It's just a place for everybody to kind of come and utilize it. And it's a little bit can be seen as a bit of free advertising for people if they want to do that. Also, the electronic sign, it's free for nonprofits to use as well. We're happy to post those things up there. But I think that's an ongoing issue in the community. Like you said, sometimes we can put out all kinds of information and there will be people that just didn't hear about it for whatever reason. So it is difficult, it is challenging, no matter what business you're in.
Yeah, and it seems like if it's under communications, we could be better. I'm not sure if we need to run it though. It's a community event. If you don't send in your note, then how do I know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we moving into council reports? You want me to continue to chair? Okay, we're missing Councillor Gamana. Is back at on the weekend, did you say?
Yes.
Nice. Councillor Clark.
Yes, so going back to our last meeting, we had a sit down with Wild Rose School Division in the back there, and I think we had some fruitful discussions with them. So that was good. We attended the Chamber Awards ceremony, presented an award there, and got to make fun of the county reeve there. That was good. Did the Points West tour, did a little speech, handed over a town plaque, had some good conversations with people there about, seniors housing and how it's a business, right? And kind of the things that it brings to the community. So, never really thought about it from that perspective. So that was good. We had our homelessness forum on Monday. A couple things out of that. One, touching base with Spruce Grove. Two, we're going to have a homeless survey coming out here shortly that we're, going to ask some questions of our homeless populations to understand, some of their struggles, where they're from, what their plans are. Talked about storage for personal effects. That's something we talked about today at one point. And then an RFP for the day warming center. So those are the things that came of that. Also, the violence seminar we did yesterday. That was good. I think there was about 10 or 12 of us in there, and it was good. It was, for some people, maybe eye-opening. I've attended a few of those, and you always learn some things out of those. So it was good.
Quick question on the Points West. Was it community-wide or just invitation only?
Yeah, it was invitation only. They had a bunch of folks from Points West living all over Alberta, like regional directors and such, come and had some good conversations with them, and did a tour of the facility and talked with some of the folks there, and yeah, it's good.
Do you know if are they 80% occupancy or?
I believe they're pretty close to full. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Evans?
Let me see. Also, attended that discussion with the school division, some interesting possibilities there. And the Chamber Awards, and I agree, it was a fun night. Also, attended a Healthy Communities Coalition meeting. I guess in the end, they're just looking at trying to ramp up a little bit now that, they're able to meet in person and they kind of know who's in the group. One thing that came out of there, the Youth Hub is going to continue to work under their umbrella. There was talk about them splitting off and taking things on themselves, but part of it is they can still get insurance cheaply under that Healthy Communities Coalition umbrella. But I could see in a year or so them kind of doing their own thing instead of answering to the HCC. Attended a library board meeting. Most of the open meeting, I was just kind of generally pushing for more cooperation between the library and the town in general, just making it easier to have those back and forth things that we support each other on. Also talked about getting our planning down earlier in the year for special days, special occasions at the library, so we can make plans instead of kind of 2 weeks before it happens. All of a sudden, we're scrambling to try and get volunteers and stuff. So we're looking at having those all laid out early in the year in the first few months, and then we've got lots of time for planning, et cetera. I think that's about it. One last thing is the library plans on being open for the federal holiday, the reconciliation holiday that we closed for last year. They're going to keep it open. So something to keep in mind, Rob, and we'll try and maybe have a special display set up if there's any, good reading materials that we want to bring out there for people to celebrate that day. Then we're going to try and create something decent for our folks in the community who use the library. I think that's about it for me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilor Sheriffs.
So on 14th, I attended the FCSS board meeting and approved few grants within the community. And then the District Chambers Awards. Did the Drayton Valley Memorial Celebration Center grand opening, and I must say the building looks spectacular. Colleen and Mike did a really good job repurposing that building, and I'm looking forward to seeing, families enjoying it and visiting it for, there's the good and the sad and the happy moments, but it's great. And that's about it.
It's interesting, because I went over there just to say, I can't be with them for their gala or the opening, but so they took me through, and at that point in time, it was like 4 days to opening, and then I thought you'll never make it, but your comments were quite remarkable that they were there and ready.
They were still pulling some of the paint tape off of the railings and door frames when people were coming through, but they managed, they did it.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. All right, my report, I would say, Wildrose School Division, we've reported on. I think I liken it sometimes to, there's no cost to the town generally, except for the stop signs and the traffic and the flow, and we're starting to see that build. And so it'll be interesting to see and we should account for it so that in our discussions, we can say, oh, by the way, these are the kinds of costs that we incur when things go on, and don't take it lightly, right? So I thought that's what the other thing I was a little bit surprised is the entire board except for one was there and never said a word. So I'm not sure what that was all about, but we'll leave it at that. A meeting of note was Weyerhaeuser. Mayor and I had a sit down with Jeff McKay, and there's some few things that we have to still, get done with Weyerhaeuser, but really exciting. They really are feeling good. They'd like to do more. DeBee Park, we've already talked about 6 million trees. We talked about the greenhouse effect and whether there's any possibilities around that, and then education. We actually covered a lot of ground, and they're pretty excited, and we just need to keep that fire burning. It's
Boy, a forestry story.
keep the fire burning, which to the last point, they are considering not burning in the backcountry any longer, and figuring out a different way, try to keep their greenhouse gases down. So pretty exciting project there that they're working on. And that's that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I believe they're going to also be at the Pumpkin Walk tomorrow. I think that's what they said last night. No, tomorrow.
27.
Is it tomorrow? Because last year I got the date wrong. Is it
27
tomorrow?
it says there, right?
That's tomorrow, right? Yeah, they're going to be there handing out wood and partnering with that. So yeah, very exciting as well. When you said wood, I just remembered Weyerhaeuser. Yeah, it's been really busy. It seems like that everybody's hosting something and awards and celebrations, and there's lots happening. So that's fantastic. I attended the Holy Trinity Academy Awards ceremony, which was nice because they haven't been able to do that for a couple years. So the awards were for the previous year and some of the students that had graduated and new students and things like that. So that was really nice. I also attended the new Drayton Valley Memorial Gala on Saturday. So that was nice. They kind of did a dry run of what it would look like to be having maybe a wedding or a celebration there. So that was nice. And yeah, talk about last minute. I think they said they were hanging lights still like that day, Saturday. So yeah, it looked amazing compared to what it was a year ago and to see it. So like you said, Monica, it's going to be fantastic, a celebration of life, and there's so much history in that building. So it's really nice. Yeah, we attended Wild Rose School Division, so some plans there and more conversation needed. Strategic planning, I've had some pre-meetings as well. Also attended Western Fusion Plate, which was really nice. Fantastic to see them open and try some new cuisine in the community. So excited for that. As Tom had mentioned, meeting with Weyerhaeuser, we're just getting into budget discussions. And that is, and then also, I think I missed Chamber of Commerce Awards Night, which was really nice. They were nice. They were able to kick that off and celebrate all the businesses in the community. I attended Homeless Forum with Colin and workplace training as well. And that's it for me. It's been very busy, yeah. And that is my report.
Thank you. We're through the FOIP section and through an 11.8 is information. Do we need anything out of 11.8?
We did that in closed.
That was also enclosed, yeah.
Okay. We're now at the 12.1. That's council initiated items. Anything arising?
I just would like to add that Heather from Frank Medic High School had reached out to me thanking council for when the three gentlemen from grade 12 to the National Leadership Conference, that they were very happy to be here and present in the confidence and everything else. She was very grateful and wanted to know if there'd be a potential for that funding again going forward, right? So we might want to consider that. As well as I had sent an email out that they're hosting a career day on November 21st. Monica had responded that she'd come along, so I don't know if any other counselors want to come along. It's a 30-minute presentation where we'll give a presentation, so we'll have to decide what that wants to be, a life of a counselor, and if that's maybe a potential career for them, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. But I had also seen Heather last night at the Education Open House, and she said that she forgot she was supposed to probe me and push me a little bit, that not only would students potentially consider a career in politics, but maybe in government. So she wanted to extend the invitation out to administration as well to say, you know, is there anybody, oh, she did? Fantastic. So anything like, and I was thinking like fun, right? So including like the fire department and everybody. So keep that in the back of your minds of who would like, okay, well, CAO, everybody. We were like fun. We were like, you guys got to really fun it up. It's like the best job, right? Fun it up. And so, yeah, keep that in mind. And it'd be nice to see administration there as well. So we'll have to get creative if we're going to do a presentation to really make it exciting for the high school. Slideshow, yeah, we got 30 minutes, so we can get creative. Tell a story.
Anything else coming out of council? All right, roundtable discussion? Anything from administration?
Not from administration. We've covered everything.
Do we have anything? No, I'm just thinking. I don't think so.
Quick, who's all going to RMA? Just, you are, Margaret. So we have 3 counselors going. Anything else? Okay. Upcoming meetings, that's part of that, the conference, the RMA. Anything else?
There's that FCM sustainability one. I don't know if that's, anybody's going to that or not, but that was also sent out yesterday.
I saw that, and it looks interesting if there's interest. I think the answer was is that you've got a budget and work within your budget. Yeah.
February 7th to 10th.
Right, I saw that too, yeah. Okay, anything else? Information items, you've got, is there anything out of information? I think that's all we need. Anything that's coming out of information or we just accept as information? Motion? Motion to accept his information.
Okay, I can make that motion to accept his.
Mayor Dodds, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Sure. And that brings us to adjournment. Motion to adjourn? Counselor Clark? All in favor? Thank you.